Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So we have a couple things to go over today. We have the California race for governor debate going on. We also have the the thing that's going on with Virginia, where they got smacked down by the courts because they said that what they were doing was unconstitutional. Um, and then we also got some stuff that they were showing the Democrats cheating. So yeah, we have a couple of things to go over, guys. So right now, since the debate is not happening just yet, so I'm keeping an eye on you guys. We'll jump into something that we were talking about. So we're gonna go to good old X to see some of this stuff. All right, all right. Let's get this show on the road, guys. So we had this from let me just kind of scoot it over for you guys so you guys can see it better. Okay. All right. So you guys can see it a little bit better, guys. So we got this from Naughty Naughty Naughty. I think it's from Gay Gallops. She wrote Naughty Naughty Naughty. Just how did Virginia pull off the elections in their favor for gerrymandering? The useful, sneaky mail-in ballots, and then this magic trick. You go from 64,000 votes for yes in 5 minutes before the no's were ahead. Yeah, sure. So let's go ahead and listen to this guy, because this is making its rounds on social media right now. So I definitely want us to kind of watch a couple of these vids. Let's go.
Check this out, guys. So at 8:39, look at this. The no votes were ahead, right? 236, 206. Within 5 minutes, look at this. There's a jump. Look at that jump. Of over what? 60,000 votes? 64,000 votes? In 4 minutes, 5 minutes? Is that possible? Does that make sense? Let me know.
Probably not. So we had that one. There was another video that so they were talking about a lot of different things on here. So let me go to the other one. Let's see. Down here. So this was another one that they were talking about it too as well. They were saying like how it's crazy that they went from the Virginia elections to subvert democracy was suddenly ballot dumped and America lost. So this is the one that they were showing, like all of a sudden they jumped up in votes, which is really crazy. Then we have this one. In Virginia, a person only has to swear it's him or her on the outer envelope to submit a vote. No visual ID checking, nothing. Why do you think all the stolen IDs from the company's data breaches are used for? Fraud, mail-in ballots. That's what Frankie Bob is suggesting. So in this image, you're seeing right here a breakdown. So it's like all of a sudden, absentee mail-in ballots were 41,516, which is 80%. And early in-person was 86,860. Then the no votes for absentee ballots was 10,334. And then you have early in-person 39,654. So I know a lot of people were saying like this looks like crazy shenanigans coming in. But yeah. So this is the other thing I wanted to show you guys. This is the thing where I was telling you that the courts were smacking them down because they over here took their victory lap. And the court said, nah, y'all can't do that. Because I showed you in a previous video, I showed you the maps and how they were going to do it. They were going to get like 5 additional Democrat seats and only 1 Republican seat. They literally snatched all these votes, all these like states from rural America to give it to Democrats so that they could try and have an edge. That is so wrong that they're taking away the voices of the rural area just because they don't like the way they vote. I'm pretty sure that's why. But let's go ahead and listen to this. This is from Kent Smith. Just in Virginia has blocked from certifying the result of the rigged 10D-1R congressional map referendum. The deal just hit a major roadblock. Democrats' dirty gerrymander to grab four extra House seats is crumbling. Next up is going to be the state Supreme Court. So let's watch this.
Breaking tonight, a circuit court in Virginia ruled a short time ago, within the past 2 hours, that the redistricting referendum passed by voters yesterday is unconstitutional. Yep. The judge is now blocking certification of the election and denying a motion to stay pending appeal. Virginia's Democratic Attorney General responding by posting that he plans to appeal that. Correspondent Mark Meredith has.
Brett, good evening to you. Plenty of new drama here in the Commonwealth tonight. Republicans are challenging the legality of yesterday's ballot measure. They have asked a judge to throw out the case, essentially to wait for it to happen. An injunction was issued. The judge agreeing. Democrats, as you mentioned, say they are going to appeal, that there's no merit to this case, that they believe this is an attempt to override the will of the voters. Either way, Brett, this is creating a lot more chaos ahead of November's midterms.
Yeah.
Donald Trump and Republicans launched this gerrymandering war.
Obama.
We're going to finish it.
Tonight, Democrats are claiming victory after Virginia voters narrowly approved a referendum giving state lawmakers power to redraw congressional maps this year, likely shrinking Republican representation from 5 House districts to 1.
It's a hyper-partisan gerrymandering boondoggle.
Critics accuse Virginia's Democratic governor, Abigail Spanberger, of flip-flopping after previously calling gerrymandering detrimental to democracy.
Yes, she did.
Says it's now justified after Texas redrew its maps.
We want to respond to what we see.
Which I believe they said for Texas, it was kind of like a wash. Like it really didn't really change much. All they did was, I think, like maybe lost 1 seat. It wasn't as crazy as these people are trying to make it out to seem, where this was absolutely absurd. This is literally like Illinois freaking gerrymandering. Like, you have, I think, 17 seats in Illinois, and I believe only 4 go to Republicans, even though the whole state is red except for Peoria, Bloomington, Chicago. These big blue cities, literally they snake it so that they can like steal all the votes and all the seats. That's how they do that. And that is unfair, unconstitutional, because they're taking away the voices of the people that are in smaller towns. It's crazy.
Other states doing at the request of this president.
Republicans say the fight's not over. The state Supreme Court has yet to rule if the referendum was legal to begin with.
We believe we have a very strong case before the state Supreme Court.
Today, President Trump, without proof, said the race was rigged, adding, "Let's see if the courts will fix this travesty of justice." Multiple states have already redrawn maps this year. Republicans say they've likely increased the majority by 3 to 5 seats in Texas. Democrats say the same in California.
I think that was wrong. I'm pretty sure it wasn't as crazy as they're trying to make it seem.
Now holding to a 2 to 4 seat gain overall. Next up, Florida, where a proposal meant to gain Republican seats may be unveiled as soon as next week. Top Democrats are vowing to spend millions to fight back. Today, Governor Ron DeSantis said, "Bring it on."
Please be my guest. I will pay for you to come down to Florida and campaign. I'll put you up in the Florida governor's mansion.
Other states are also looking at redistricting, including Louisiana and Missouri, but some court cases have slowed down the process, and the states are also eagerly awaiting a ruling from the Supreme Court when it comes to the Voting Rights Act, which could limit the role race plays when it comes to drawing new voting maps. Brett.
Mark Meredith, live in Alexandria. Mark, thank you. President Trump.
So yeah, we have that. Let's see, what else can I show you guys? Because I was watching how all of this was transpiring. I told you guys, I was super, super disappointed, which was crazy. The way that this just flipped. And it kind of reminds you of 2020, when all of a sudden, in the middle of the night, like a thief in the night, all of a sudden, like, I remember going to bed and Trump was in the lead, right? And then all of a sudden, in the middle of the night, When I woke up in the morning, bam, he was blown out the water. It's like, y'all can't, no, there's something wrong there. That's why they don't want to give up their ballots, because they know they're going to get caught up. But yeah, this is definitely, like they said, a power grab from these people, because they know they're not going to win this. They know that they're going to lose, and they're trying every which way to try and cheat as a backup, just in case the Save America Act passes. That's why they're trying to do this shenanigans here. But yeah, this is what's going on in the world today. It's crazy to see all this kind of go over. So let me get this video for you guys so you guys can see and kind of get a little more in-depth information about what is going on. We're still waiting for the governor's race to happen. So let's see. Okay. So we got this from Benny Johnson. It's over Judge Black's Democrats from stealing Virginia. Let's go.
A short time ago, within the past 2 hours, that the redistricting referendum passed by voters yesterday is unconstitutional. The judge is now blocking certification of the election and denying a motion to stay pending appeal.
Democrats are on life support right now as their scam to rig the elections in Virginia, win the House, and impeach Donald Trump just got put on ice and may be dead forever. You're gonna love this. Turnabout is fair play and karma is a biatch. Here we go. Virginia last night voted on a referendum, and that referendum is in a state that is very much pooping. Virginia just had a very popular Republican governor named Glenn Youngkin. He had an entire Republican suite with the Attorney General and with the Lieutenant Governor, and they had a Republican House in Virginia, so it was not a Democrat stronghold at all. Kamala only won Virginia by 4 points, and as you can see here, the redistricting effort was only won by 1 point, 51 to 49. But the new congressional map is 91% Democrat control.
Yep.
You can see here, this thing is absolutely and totally egregious. This is the old map that had a very even split of Virginia's 11 congressional districts. And this is the new map where all of the Virginia districts, which are drawn way up to,
and they're saying like
DC,
protect,
right here,
you know, they're only doing this because of what they did in Texas. But again, they've been doing this for a while, so that's actually not true. And they're like, we're trying to save democracy by doing something unconstitutional and taking away people's right to be heard. Like, I don't know about that. I call shenanigans on
They are
this.
like the richest counties in the country. They're the most liberal counties in the country. They use mail-in ballots to rig this election. I don't think this was a fair election at all, but nonetheless, they did it, and then they just scam it over the finish line, right? Dems won control of 90% of the district in a state. They only won by 5%. For the sake of fairness, right? Okay. This is what everyone was saying. President Trump was saying that it's a rigged election. Rigged election took place in Virginia last night, Commonwealth of Virginia. All day long, Republicans were winning. The spirit was unbelievable until the very end, when, of course, there was a massive mail-in ballot drop, where I have heard that before. Where have I heard that before? And the Democrats eked out another crooked victory. 6-5 goes to 10-1. And yet the presidential election in November was very close, 50-50 split. In addition to everything else, the language in the referendum was purposely unintelligible. You know, Donald Trump has hundreds of billions of dollars, arguably, if you count them all up, across different PACs. Republicans got to get smart, spending money and like going and chasing votes, ballots. They got to get smart, man. They got to get smart. As everyone knows, I'm an extraordinarily brilliant person. And
Honestly, Democrats need to like man up, guys. Like they really do. Not Democrats. I'm sorry. Oh my God. Like I have them on my brain right now, guys. I mean, like the Republicans, they need to man up, because right now we have the House, the Senate, and the presidency. Why hasn't anything that Trump wants have passed? Why are we still playing this game of, you know, oh, we gotta wait. Oh, we're going to recess. You know, like none of his stuff is getting past the House or the Senate. Well, more so the Senate, because we all know that the majority of them are probably rhinos. But it's like, you could pass the Save America Act like this, you know? You can nuke the filibuster. You can pass all the laws that the American people want, but y'all are just like sitting on your behinds. And at the most, you wag your finger. Oh, that's not right. Oh, we can't do that to them because they're going to do that to us. Bro, they're going to do that to us anyways, because the Democrats have said once they, sweep the midterms, they're coming out for blood. They're going to come after Donald Trump. They're going to impeach him. They're going to come after anybody that was associated with Trump, anybody that liked Trump, anybody that cheered Trump on, even in like Truth Social or X. They're going to come after all these people, and it's not the first time. Look at what happened before. They arrested James O'Keefe. They went after, other like journalists, podcasters, even Trump's lawyers. Everything they did was so, so wrong and unconstitutional, but they did it anyways. They didn't care, So I think this time around, they're taking the gloves off and they're going to go full circle. I think that they are literally just gaming the system just to gain power because they want a one-party system. They don't want you to have a choice anymore. They basically want you to live in the pods, eat the bugs, and be happy. And you're not going to want anything because you're happy. It's like the We Happy Few game. That's literally what they want. It's crazy. We don't want to be 1984. We don't want to be any Orwellian version of this, guys. So let's keep going.
Let's see if the courts will fix this travesty of justice, says Donald Trump. Boom. Mm-hmm. The courts just did. Not so fast. Virginia court invalidates massive political steal by Governor Spamberger.
That's basically what it was.
Read the order. The order effectively says that this vote was illegal, that it wasn't done by state law or procedure, and that none of the votes count, and that all the votes are invalidated.
Wow, that's crazy.
Here we go.
They're pissed
in favor
because of that.
All counts, says this judge. I love this, by the way. Lawfare for libs. How's it feel, libs? Lawfare against the libs. It's really smart. Republicans should do more of this.
For real.
They have enjoined
Negro spine
all of the votes, every one of them, and they've declared that the entire election was fraudulent. The court permanently enjoins the defendants and their successors from taking any actions or give effect to the purpose of constitutional amendment that is subject to this special election, including but not limited to updating or altering voter registration records in accordance with new congressional districts. Ooh, that's it. That's it. It denies the Commonwealth's motion to
That's it. That's their
complaint. You're not allowed to update, alter election districts, precincts, or polling places in
accordance that was quick.
Districts, updating and generating poll
because they really thought that they were going to be able to use this map
with the new maps,
until it went through the courts, but apparently the courts said, nah, we're not playing this game.
Well, this is going to suck for them. Jack Hurley, Judge Tazewell. This is what happens when you F around in a state that is like...
Yeah, and they're telling us that we're effing around and finding out.
Like, virtually all of your life and my life. And they now have just effed around and found out. Virginia judge blocks redistricting referendum from being certified. Update on referendum and lawsuits. The Tazewell Circuit Court just ruled the referendum unconstitutional. The judge entered an injunction blocking certification of the election and denied a motion to stay pending appeal. The final order will be entered. Once drafted, it will be immediately appealed. A Republican-appointed Virginia judge has struck down the Democrat-backed redistricting amendment in full, ruling it unconstitutional and void from the start. All of the votes from April 21st special election are now invalid, and the state is permanently blocked from using and implementing the new maps.
Okay. Awesome.
And then Jay Jones says he is filing an appeal. Jay Jones is the guy who says he wants to kill Republican children. Remember that. He's the attorney general.
I can't believe he won.
So they don't have a lot of time here. Listen, this is your problem. Your problem is that you're going to start running into real constitutional questions of like how quickly can you change a district right before an election. You know, the midterms are 6 months from now.
Yeah.
And that is nothing in the political landscape. It might feel like an eternity. It's nothing.
Nope. That's going to come real quick.
Or the time to fight all of this in court the way that they gotta fight it, right? So these are like major questions. The other thing is that like it sort of falls to the state to adjudicate their own elections. So I don't think they're going to be able to like beg for the Supreme Court Not that they'd get any help there, but I don't think they'd be able to beg to higher courts here because this is going to be a state's elections issue. And this Virginia judge just slammed the door shut. By the way, again, 6 months to the election. All right. Ken Cuccinelli, who is the former, I think, lieutenant governor or attorney general, I can't remember. He's the Virginia attorney general, 46th Virginia attorney general. There you go. Okay. PS vote won the redistricting referendum, but the legal fight is just beginning. 4 VA constitutional challenges are now teed up. 3 challenges with the amendment process itself. Next stop, court. Stay tuned. By the way, folks, this is going to move fast, not the usual court speed. Looking for another Tazewell ruling as early as this week. He was right. Ooh. Everyone's saying this is not over yet. Keep fighting.
Yeah.
Judge just blocked the maps. Look at how egregious these maps are. Just these criminals. They're just criminals, these people. You know, if you want to look at how bad it really, you want to see how bad it really is. You got to see, like, wait, look at this. Obviously the orangish color here is against the referendum. The entire state voted against it. The entire state is being held captive by literally this little area right there. That little dot is holding the entire state captive. Sorry, it's not democracy. Ooh, maybe. Very cool. Having quite a night in the courts, the Virginia judge just blocked the state from certifying the results of Tuesday's referendum. That's unlawful. The judge, Jack Harley Jr., ruled Democrats did not follow the correct procedure of the constitutional amendment. Ooh. Permanently enjoins the defendants and their successors from certifying the election. VA judge just threw a wrench in the process. It'll come down to the state's high court. Okay. He flat out denied the motion of state and he appealed. Everything is completely frozen now. Once the final order is drafted, you can expect an immediate response by Democrats. Remember, look at this. Look at what they've done. Look at these, it's such scumbags. They're such dirtbags.
Yeah. Truly,
such garbage. How is somebody from right here, a lobbyist from right here, supposed to represent somebody on the other side of the Shenandoah Valley? They're not. Nope. They're not. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this good news. It is good news. We really, really want this thing to crash and burn.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're going to get redistricted. You know, you're going to have a redistricting process anyway after census. So, you know, it's 2026 and 2030. That there's already going to be a natural, lawful redistricting process. Democrats are just getting fat and greedy. They're being piggies. Glad to see them shut down. It's with any like transparency.
That's good to hear. That they're being blocked, which is awesome. From doing that, because the last thing I heard, which this is probably like an updated version of it, because it was earlier in the day that I heard about it, that the courts were going to be like, oh yeah, you could just use that map, blah blah blah. But then and the governor's race is going to start in about 5 minutes. But then you have people saying that like what Benny Johnson said, like they're not going to be able to do that, which is good. Because I don't think they should be able to use that map for the midterms, because hell no, we would be so screwed. And I believe Virginia is like either a red state or a purple state. I think it's purple. Yeah. So I have this other thing that I got for you guys. Now, this is also another thing that's making its round. Acting AG Blanche alleges SPLC paid millions to extremist group members. So yeah, this is going to be a fun one.
It was the fraudulent Minnesota Leering centers. Then it was the phony hospice operations in California. And now a new fraud being exposed. The DOJ dropped an indictment late today against one of the left's most cherished so-called anti-discrimination watchdogs. Wire fraud, bank fraud, and big trouble. The Southern Poverty Law Center, long treated as the gold standard by academics, corporate America, liberal politicians, of course the media, is now facing serious criminal charges for the way it solicited, spent, and banked donor money to supposedly advance their mission of exposing and dismantling extremist groups.
The SPLC was not dismantling these groups. It was instead manufacturing the extremism it purports to oppose by paying sources to stoke racial hatred.
Whoops. Well, the DOJ claims that the SPLC set up financial channels that donors were led to believe supported the anti-discrimination work, but in fact were used in some cases for illicit purposes. Over the years, when the SPLC held itself out to be noble and nonpartisan, standing bravely against extremism, it published lists that shaped hiring decisions, banking relationships, and even some law enforcement priorities. And yes, I know this firsthand. Back in 2008, when I hosted a nationally syndicated radio show, it labeled me, I love this headline, right-wing radio's high priestess of hate. I took it as a great compliment, of course. That wasn't because I endorse violence or extremism, but because I'm a proud conservative, especially on the issue of immigration. So they've always been the real haters, haters of strong border enforcement, traditional Christianity, of conservatives who are vocal and effective. Well, the chickens may finally be coming home to roost.
Between 2014 and 2023, SPLC paid at least $3 million to 8 individuals at least. After SPLC paid members of these extremist groups, it created work product that reported on these activities that the members participated in or contributed to. And to that end, it was doing the exact opposite of what it's told its donors it was doing. Not dismantling extremism, but funding it.
Yep.
Here exclusively, Acting U.S. Attorney General Todd Blanche. Mr. Acting Attorney General, how did they get away with this for so long?
I mean, it's a great question. I said today during the press conference that we know that this investigation was opened during the Biden administration and then mysteriously closed. I really don't have any information about why it was closed. And then we started again last year. The FBI did, working with the U.S. Attorney in Alabama. And it's extraordinarily egregious. You just talked about it. But imagine a donor to the SPLC if they were told, by the way, we're going to give the money you're giving us to the Ku Klux Klan. Okay? Like, in some cases, over $1 million. I mean, it's incredible.
Now, they say they're no longer using these informants in this way and that it was necessary because they had all sorts of threats against the organization, firebombing threats and other acts of purported violence. And that's why they had to use these informants. And to that, you say?
Well, to that, I say, for one, the indictment charges all the way through 2023. So I'm here to speak about what they're doing right now, but that indictment charges a long period of time through 2023. And second, and more importantly, there's no allegation or information in the indictment that suggests they shared that information with law enforcement. They have communicated.
They said they did.
Well, they have communicated when they so chose with law enforcement over the years. There's no information that we have that suggests that the money that they were paying to these informants and these members of these organizations, they then turned around and shared what they learned with law enforcement. To the contrary, or else we would have known from their own words that they had given this money to these guys, and we didn't know it.
What about Charlottesville and the Charlottesville Unite the Right rally? Were they involved in that?
Yes. So what we allege in the indictment and what the grand jury found is that one of the individuals that they paid was one of the folks who helped organize that terrible event. And so so imagine what we're talking about, Laura. We're talking about an organization that actively came out and just screamed it from the top of their lungs.
So just so people understand watching this, did these informants in some cases, given the evidence you've seen, actually initiate what would ultimately be these activities? And obviously Charlottesville ended with a tragedy.
Well, we know that they were part of those. They were part of it. Whether they were the leaders or the initiators, that'll come out, I think, eventually. But what we do know is that the very entities that this group was raising money to go against are the very entities that they were taking the money in and paying to these entities and these individuals associated with those groups.
What was the money used for?
Well, we don't know, because again, all we know is that they set up these fictitious bank accounts.
Fake names, like the Constitution Group or whatever it was called. Then they had one called Fox Photography.
Right, completely fictitious as far as the investigation has shown, and they were using it simply to funnel money to these individuals. The indictment talks about a situation where they paid an individual to steal documents from the organization and then return the documents, and then when somebody else took the hit for it, they paid that person too. To take the hit for that. And so this
But again, why were they doing this? Like this imperial wizard of the United Clans?
And what's crazy is that they got busted paying to groups that the SPLC is like a Democrat-led thing. They got blamed, or right now they were blaming, so my thought, hold on. Okay, guys, listen. So that the Democrats were claiming that, this whole time that, oh, the Republicans, they're for white supremacists and they're for the KKK and yada yada, all these hate groups. But the SPLC, which was paying out and funding the organizations like, for example, like the white supremacist group, they purposely funded them to create this so that they can have, like, I guess, an argument for the right, saying like, look, that's a right-wing extremist, white supremacist. And so right now, they got caught, which is why this is hilarious.
Of America, that was one of the informants. So was that an agent of the U.S. government, effectively?
Look, all we know is that they were fundraising every day on their websites. And
but they made the problem, to me, and I just read the indictment, they made the problem probably look worse than it was, with the informants kind of egging people on. To me, that's what it looks like. You'll find out more.
We'll find out more, but you're right. I mean, that's the point. Why did they want to raise so much money? They needed people to choose to give their hard-earned money to this 501c3 charity, and then they took that money and they diverted a big chunk of it, over $3 million, over 2014 to 2023, to the same individuals within the organizations they were against.
Why no individuals named
You see that?
in a
That's
criminal
crazy.
indictment? Why is it just the organization itself?
Well, I said very clearly today, this investigation's ongoing. As these investigations go, when you're ready to charge a company,
You know what,
there's a
guys?
lot of-
I want to see
It's
handcuffs.
important
I want
to
to see
do
perp
that.
walk.
It's
I
important
keep
to do
hearing
that,
indictments,
even if the
indictments,
investigation is
indictments,
continuing.
but I'm not
that's
seeing
what we
anything.
did today, but the investigation is continuing.
Now, folks on the right want to know when we're going to see progress in investigations of Brennan, Comey, Clapper, and perhaps, given what we learned about his desire to ignore the intel community in 2016 and 2017 on the Russia issue,
Schumer,
Barack Obama.
Nadler,
What can you say
Barack
to
Obama,
people tonight
Pelosi.
about the progress of these investigations? People
Let's
want
go.
indictments and they want accountability for Crossfire
Schiller, I
Hurricane
think his
and
name
the
is.
Russia investigation.
Sure. So what I can say is the same thing we've been saying all along. These investigations have to be done in secret. They cannot be done in the open, and not only because of grand jury secrecy, but it destroys the integrity of the investigation. We have great people working on all of these issues, really smart people, and we're going to continue to do that work. And when there's an appropriate time to talk about it, we will.
Yeah, I mean, people just feel like if the government can actually do this to a sitting, a candidate, and then undermine his presidency.
Yep.
These people claim they're for democracy and protecting democracy.
It shakes the heart of our democracy to understand what happened. And I never will be critical of anybody saying we need to hear more, we need something quicker, because it's true. If these allegations, what we've heard is
10 years
very
ago.
troubling. And it's a
10
long
years
time ago. It's a long time ago.
People are like, move on. I don't see how you can move on from this.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
By
So
the
we're
way,
working.
we have late today, the SPLC came out, in defending itself, saying essentially this is all political. This is a political move on the part of your Justice Department to try to shut down their organization, which has been in their view, obviously a very effective organization against hate and extremism. To that, you say?
To that, I say the indictment's public. Everybody can read it, whether you're for them, against them, whether you've donated money to them, whether you've been critical of them. That indictment is free for everybody to read. And if the takeaway is that that's political, I mean, I think the opposite is true.
You want this
job? Look what they did to Trump.
I love what I'm doing. I love
when
every
he
day
was
that
running
I
for
come
president,
to work. Serving
and
this
Biden came after
administration
him.
is the highlight of my life and will continue to be.
He went
so.
after his political opponent.
Answer, but I said he can't joke anymore because now he's the acting attorney.
The crazy thing is that we need to be more like, and I hate to say this, but we need to be more like the left in regards to how they play these dirty games, but like kind of legality wise. Like, we need to stop just sitting on our hands and stop saying, like, no, you can't do that. That's wrong. We can't do that anymore. Now we gotta, we're gonna have to like pump up, like, maximize our game. Like, we can't let these fools keep running us like this. Like, hell no. We need to do something about it. We need to, if they just link to us, we need to hit them back 10 times harder. I've already told you guys this before, and I don't mean physical, okay? I mean, like, psychological, or in the politics wise. But I've told you guys this before about even when we go out and protest, we don't go out in big numbers. And I've been saying we need to go out there. Like, if the left comes with 5, we come with 10. They come with 10, we come with 30. Like, we need to start rolling deep, and we need to show them that us Americans are going to fight for our country. We're not going to let these people steamroll us anymore. We're not going to allow them to, like, lie to us and twist everything. We need to regain that power that they took from us. And we need to stop being babies about it. And we need to stop being like, well, I'm going to turn the other cheek. Oh, I'm a good person. Like, nah, no more Mr. Nice Guy. We're done with that. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I am definitely over that already. So I have this from Alex Jones. I wanted to show you guys, this is kind of a continuation of what we were showing earlier. I find this hilarious, guys, because Alex Jones was calling for the 25th Amendment on Donald Trump. Okay? He literally was like, oh, we need to impeach him. We need to get him out of office. He's no longer my friend. 25th Amendment, him, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens. They're all like, I used to be a Trump supporter, but not no more. That's not the guy I voted for. And when, bad. That's all they kept doing. They were starting to jump ship, But then this happens. And so we have Mr. Jones here saying, for the first time ever, Trump just attacked the heart of the deep state. Breaking. Department of Justice charges the Southern Poverty Law Center, which is the SPLC, with wire fraud, false statements, and conspiracy to commit money laundering. So this is the SPLC secretly fund $3 million plus in donor funds to violent racist extremist groups like the KKK, the American, Nazi Party, the Aryan Nation, United Clans of America, Unite the Right, National Alliances, National Socialist Movement. That one's not really surprising. Sadistic Souls, the Motorcycle Club, what? And American Fund. To hide the payments that specifically alleged open fake accounts under fictitious entities. So let's just hear it from Mr. Jones' mouth himself.
Leader for Todd Blanche, I want to believe in Trump. I want to see the deep state indicted.
Now he does, right?
And I've been on there 32 years, and my wheelhouse has been the Southern Poverty Law Center and ADL running the KKK, the Aryan Nations, all of them. It's come out. They got caught in the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s doing it. It is well documented. Randy Weaver wouldn't work for him, and so they killed his wife and everything. Todd Blanche and Kash Patel, 11 indictments today. So I'm going to call balls and strikes. People say, wait, you're mad at them. You say they're bad. Well, yeah, because I've seen a bunch of past bad behavior. I call balls and strikes. I just saw this news, went and read all the articles of the indictment. I had a freaking political orgasm. Yes, more, please. Because the needle's been going towards bad with Trump. This kind of moved it back some. Please.
The problem with this is, like, I don't have a problem with people calling out stuff they don't like about Trump. I've done it. I told you guys, I'm on the fence about the war in Iran. I really feel like my thought process with that was that he thought it was going to be like quick like this, like Venezuela. And it wasn't. It's a bigger mess than that. And that's why they're also kind of, I think they're moving forward with Cuba. But there are things that Trump did that I didn't agree with. And I was just like, nah, I don't like this. I think he effed up with this. Like when he kept calling the Epstein files a hoax. I was like, I don't like that he's saying that, like I'm not in his brain, but my thought process was like, maybe he's explaining it. Like he means like the hoax was in regards to the Dems saying that he was doing something bad, but he didn't articulate that. So I was like, nah, bro, you're making this worse by calling it that. You're doing like harm to the victims. Like you could call it and say, yeah, they thought I was going to be in the files. I wasn't in there. I didn't participate. I didn't partake. But all these people did, like stuff like that. I think it's fine for you to not always agree. But to be like what he did, what Candace Owens is doing, what Tucker Carlson's doing, like them, and I think Megyn Kelly, for them to be like, 25th Amendment, I'm no longer a Trump supporter. I'm no longer MAGA. It's like, really? Now y'all backtracking because all of a sudden, you see a win, and you're like, oh, let me go back to them, because that's all it's about, guys. It's about that dollar bill.
There's more. You talk about going after deep state. The Southern Poverty Law Center has like $1 billion in the Bahamas. They're run by like NATO intelligence. And you saw Charlottesville and all that crap they ran. That was them. I mean, this is amazing. This is amazing. Let me tell you something. I mean, you want to strike at the heart of the globalist deep state and the left controlling the different radical groups on the left and right.
Thank you, Chatty.
I mean, this is it.
Yay.
I am beside myself with excitement right now, and I just want to see more of this. God, can I just see some more good news? Can I see the Clintons indicted? Can I see the Crossfire Hurricane people indicted? Can I just see that? Please, please. I mean, I want to believe. I want Trump to succeed. I wanted the Iran war to succeed. I said, when it started March 1st, I said, I don't think it's going to work, but God, if it did, great. Not for the mullahs. So right when I'm done, something like this happens. My faith's not restored, but it kind of moved the needle back a little bit. So, wow.
Like, are you going to be like, my bad?
It's like
I shouldn't have jumped the gun.
The Southern Poverty Law Center, I interviewed the lawyers, everybody involved, the witnesses, everybody in the Oklahoma City bombing, the survivors, the cops, the FBI, all of them, the former head of the FBI crime lab. I've interviewed them all. I cut my teeth on this when I was been on there about a year when Oklahoma City happened. The Democratic Party, Eric Holder, all of them, they bombed that building. And the Southern Poverty Law Center ran Elohim City, the white supremacist compound, and did the whole deal and set up McVeigh, who was a patsy because he refused to bomb a daycare center, so they set him up. I mean, that was Southern Poverty Law Center. They infiltrated our offices a few years ago, their operatives. Jacked into our security cameras, everything. Didn't catch us anything. There was nothing going on, but they still put it out. I mean, you want to strike at the deep state leftist New World Order, this is it. So I am just beside myself with how huge this is. The Southern Poverty Law Center ran the Oklahoma City bombing, folks. It's the heart of the globalist, heart of the Democratic Party. This is amazing. More. Please let the nightmare end. Please let Trump get back on track. Please. I am impressed. My faith's not restored, but I'm starting to pay attention. What do you think? Comments below.
I think he's just trying to jump on the bandwagon back again because he wants that, win. That's what I personally think. I don't know if that's true, but that's my thought. So I wanted to also show you this because this is also coinciding with what he's talking about. So this is from Kevin Sorbo. He was saying that, not to say we told you so, but nobody with a brain actually believed this was real. This was when they were like, we're for Trump, and they look like a bunch of cops. They didn't look like, normal people. These look all like feds. And you know what? It makes sense now because now you know that this was probably like those groups that they were paying off. They were giving them money so they can go and dress up like this and do that. And, I'm pretty sure these people were for it because, they want to, I guess, bring back, where it's just all white people. So I could see that happening for that one. Like, you could tell it was so fake. Like, so many people even said that. Like, there's no way, guys, that those people were like Trump supporters. Just like in the Capitol, where there was like, oh, we should go over there and break stuff and, break into the Capitol. And people are like, what are you talking about? No, we should not do that. What do you mean? We should not break anything. And they're like, no, yeah, we should go. And they're trying to hype up other people to do it. And it's like, people in the protest were screaming out, Fed, 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 because they knew that this wasn't a person that was a Trump supporter because they were marching, peacefully. So when people were saying that there was, people that were implanted there to purposely egg on and cause this, I believed it. I was thinking like, I think it's possible, because I used to be, I'm still kind of like sometimes an Alex Jones fan. But he would talk about all these things. He was talking about, And I'm not gonna, diss the dude because, he's gotten a lot of things right, guys. I'm not gonna like just be like, oh no, he bad. You should unfriend him. No, he's gotten stuff right. Because I've said it lots of times on my channel about like in Alex Jones was right jar. Or I would talk about like what's on my bingo card because of the things that Alex Jones was talking about. I used to watch him back in the day, not so much more now, but back in the day, I was more like watching him. But he's been right on a lot of stuff. Now, there are things that I honestly believe he's wrong in. Like, and who knows? He might be right about this again, and I'm going to come back like, because I personally don't think there's lizard people. But then again, I mean, who knows? Maybe he's going to be right again. He's like the Simpsons, guys, where they're like, all of a sudden you're watching Simpsons and you're like, oh my God, this episode is just like what really happened. Like the Simpsons showing the elevator with Trump on it. Yeah, that was crazy. But yeah, you have these people like and the other thing that I thought was messed up about this whole Virginia thing, not to, off track about the SPLC, but the fact that they were playing dirty games. They put up a big old billboard, like I said, of Trump saying, yeah, vote yes for this, and a lot of people that don't follow politics probably would see that and be like, okay, I'm going to totally vote for it. Like, stupid. This is why you should, you should research everything yourself. But yeah, this is what a lot of people are talking about how this was funded by SPLC. So all of this is coming out, which is hilarious. And I'm wondering what else is going to come out about this whole situation. And, what other embarrassing thing are we going to find out about these people? I'm just wondering, and I'm just curious because this one, again, was not on my bingo card either. I didn't expect this one to come out like that either. So that was also interesting. Right now, the governor's race that we're going to be watching, it hasn't done anything, but we'll go ahead and just jump into it just so that we have it on the screen. So when it does actually start, this way we can all kind of know what's going on. Let me get that ready for you guys. Now for the governor's race, I think this is more like, I believe for like Democrats, I want to say. I don't think this is like, now if the Republicans are there, I'm going to be shook. I'm going to be shook it, guys, because that's going to be surprising to see a bunch of Democrats and then all of a sudden you have like these right-leaning people. And they might not be fully right-leaning. They might be just like, what do you call it? Like center of the road kind of people. So I wouldn't be surprised about that. They might slightly lean right, but I don't think they'll be fully right-leaning. That's just my opinion. I'm not sure. I would have to do a little more research on those guys to see where they fall on the spectrum. But we're going to go ahead and jump into this video. Let's go. See what she's saying.
Criticisms like Neo in the Matrix. There's a lot of people that have a lot of chinks in their armor already. And Swalwell was a huge disaster. So it's like, where do we go from here?
Maddie, on the affordability issue, I heard a podcast where a voter wrote in, Tom Steyer's building this multi-million-dollar home.
It just made me think of because I just finished watching the episode.
How is he going to understand what I'm feeling as somebody who lives paycheck to paycheck? We know Steve Hilton is pretty well off, small business owner, worked in the government in the UK, been on Fox News before as a personality there. How important is it going to be able to connect with voters, to perhaps even hear the words, I feel your economic pain?
Yeah, that's going to be huge. And like you guys have mentioned, that's going to be maybe harder for some of these candidates to do, especially when you look at Tom Steyer being a billionaire, essentially, and a lot of these candidates maybe not fully being able to relate to Californians who are filling up their tank, going to the grocery store, struggling to pay rent. So that's going to be a big thing. But I think voters will definitely be looking for who can I relate to? Who is going to come off, whether they share the same background or not, but who's going to come off in an empathetic way and say that I feel you and I am here to address some of your problems, because a lot of them are saying it. It's a matter of getting voters to believe it, and having one of those standout moments, I think, is going to be big. A lot of times after these debates in recent years, these viral videos that show up on social media are often what define a candidate and what can really change minds with these, I think, 23% of undecided voters. So it's going to be important to be able to, connect with the feelings of those potential voters and really make them feel like they are cared about, and that, if you vote for them, your life will be better in California. There's going to be 61 candidates on this ballot. And so I know we're looking at the top 6 right now in terms of polling, but it's going to be who can really, share that message on the same page with the voter about how they're feeling.
Yeah, so we should point out, so you had to be polling above 5% in order to get on this debate stage. And before Eric Swalwell dropped out, there was a chance that Javier Becerra and Matt Mahan weren't even going to be on the stage. But since he did, they have sort of shot up in the polls. Julia, when you look at each of these individual campaigns, Matt Mahan, big support coming from Silicon Valley, mayor of San Jose. He often touts his record on homelessness and on providing housing. But folks all over California, like a lot of places in America, dealing with high gas prices, high grocery prices, rent is high, housing costs are high, healthcare costs are high. Do any of these candidates maybe have a leg up when it comes to getting the message out? From the research that I've done, it appears that, when they talk about cutting corporate taxes and things like that, Katie Porter has some detailed plans. Others are, well, we're going to cut waste, fraud, and abuse, and we're going to get spending under control in Sacramento. Has anybody come out with an economic message that can resonate enough to help them make that top 2?
It's interesting and it'll be interesting to see tonight how the candidates approach that question. I know you guys mentioned affordability being a big issue, in this race and across the country. A lot of these questions and how the candidates are going to approach economic plans, part of it is also how that message is relayed to voters and whether it's relayed in a way that can reach them and they can understand and, feel is accessible. In talking to people in the state, I think one of the big things in this race is the question of personality. And certainly California does have figures who are big personalities. Governor Gavin Newsom has this anti-Trump approach and has really taken this resistance stance and become a big figure in the party. And part of that is due to his personality and how he reaches voters on social media and projects his message to them. He takes sort of a unique tack in his approach to social media that way. So it'll be interesting to see how these candidates give themselves a leg up in communicating these messages on various complex issues that they might be asked about tonight in a way that, like we said, not only elevates their name ID and helps get them a little bit more exposure and maybe a viral clip that helps them out, but also is a way that, is an articulate projection of their message to potential voters.
Lindsay, do you think we're going to get sort of a 2024 dynamic post-Biden dropping out where Kamala Harris really struggled to separate herself from the policies of Joe Biden? When it comes to the policies of Gavin Newsom, the supermajority in Sacramento, do you think the Democrats, at least on the stage, are going to have to sort of draw a line and say what they did, maybe their heart was in the right place, we agree on the principles, but the execution didn't match up?
Yeah, I think there's no reason to learn the same lesson twice. And so they saw how well that played out for Kamala when she didn't know how to draw a line. And luckily, they're not VPs are working directly with Newsom, so they don't have the same type of allegiance that Kamala kind of had to have to look like she was loyal in any way to her, her higher up. They have to deal with the fact that there's some of the nation's highest taxes there. They have to deal with utility and gas prices being extremely high, heavy government regulation that I talked about, some of these businesses making them leave town and go to Florida, and then also those home prices. And I think that answers are really relevant. What I know that the Democrats are likely going to do is point to and say the word, like you brought up to Chris Stirewalt, President Trump. Because if we look at what's happening with Iran and the easy ways that we can point to tariffs and now some businesses being paid throughout the range of $166 billion back to businesses that are owed money now because of these what are considered illegal tariffs. If we look at the fact that we're at war and that brings the cost of fertilizer up and that brings the cost of gas prices and natural gas in your home, another issue in California, up, I think that the Democrats have sort of a scapegoat, even though there is truth to it. They have a scapegoat to say, well, these policies, if it's affecting the rest of the country, it's exaggerated in cities and states across California and places like New York, because obviously the prices are already higher. So I think that they have this window of opportunity to point to President Trump, but also solutions are necessary. You can't just say and blame. I think that the game of trying to just say all the things that President Trump has done wrong, or anybody who's in Republican leadership has done wrong, Democrats are exhausted of, and they want to hear what they'll do differently.
Maddie, so you mentioned the affordability part of this when we were talking in the newsroom before we came on. You also mentioned things like wildfires, climate change. What other issues are going to be important for these candidates to touch on tonight?
When they're going to actually
I think those are going to be important. There's another issue dealing with film production in California that we've actually covered in Congress. I spoke to one of the Congress members, Laura Friedman. She represents Hollywood, and she says, films aren't being made in America anymore, and a lot of them are going to other countries, and that's something President Trump has talked about before, proposing a foreign tariff on foreign-made films. There's a push in Congress from Senator Adam Schiff and Congresswoman Friedman to try to create a national film tax credit. But when it comes to California, how do you bring those productions back into the state? Might be something candidates are asked about, since that's kind of what you think of if you're not from California.
On the side, I'll keep an eye on it, and as soon as it starts, guys, I will jump back over to it. But I wanted to show you guys this. This wasn't that long ago. I'm assuming this is from LV Nation. If you guys don't know who he is also awesome, just like Arturo from his Daily Discord. Go and like and subscribe to both of these guys. They're awesome people. They're super friendly, and they definitely help people out. So love it. Anyways, this is from LV Nation. Lou, listen to the fear in Virginia governor voice as her trap against Trump just backfired. Let's go.
Districts all over the country now will just go tit for tat trying to do this, not every 10 years, but whenever they feel the need.
I certainly think that is a fair concern, which is why absolutely when Democrats take a majority in the House of Representatives, my hope and expectation will be that there will be serious conversations about redistricting reforms and the process by which all 50 states will take on redistricting efforts.
Well, we just got some big news, ladies and gentlemen, about what happened in Virginia last night. Of course, the Democrats were imagining a world where the Speaker of the House would be Hakeem Jeffries, 4 new plus seats, a 10-to-1 Democrat, disenfranchisement for most Republican voters in the state. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we got some big news about all of that. And by the way, the mainstream media got really mad at President Trump because he came out yesterday on Truth Social and he said that they cheated and that it was rigged. Jeez. Well, today we got big news about a Virginia judge that blocks and restricts the restricting referendum from being certified at this very moment. And we got big news that the Virginia Supreme Court could step in to finish off all of this. And again, Democrats are playing a very dangerous game. Let's actually take a look at Abigail Spanberger being stopped. Abigail Spanberger, who a lot of the voters said that she tricked them. A lot of people who weren't even Democrat or Republican, a lot of independents were very tricked by her because she said that she would not try to make a new map, that she would not gerrymander to this degree. But apparently, again, Democrats are fighting something bigger. Democrats tell us that we must stop Trump, and this is the only way to stop Trump. So they say. Take a look at this.
Breaking tonight, a circuit court in Virginia ruled a short time ago, within the past 2 hours, that the redistricting referendum passed by voters yesterday is unconstitutional. The judge is now blocking certification of the election and denying a motion to stay pending appeal. Virginia's Democratic Attorney General responding by posting that he plans to appeal that. Correspondent Mark Meredith has.
Brett, good evening to you. Plenty of new drama here in the Commonwealth tonight. Republicans are challenging the legality of yesterday's ballot measure. They have asked a judge to throw out the case, essentially to wait for it to happen. An injunction was issued. The judge agreeing. Democrats, as you mentioned, say they are going to appeal, that there's no merit to this case, that they believe this is an attempt to override the will of the voters. Either way, Brett, this is creating a lot more chaos ahead of November's midterms.
Donald Trump and Republicans launch this gerrymandering war. We're going to finish it.
Tonight,
Yeah,
Democrats
they totally
are claiming
did.
victory after Virginia voters narrowly approved a referendum giving state lawmakers power to redraw congressional maps this year, likely shrinking Republican representation from 5 House districts to 1.
It's a hyper-partisan gerrymandering boondoggle.
Critics
Sorry,
accuse
guys.
Virginia's Democratic governor, Abigail Spanberger, of
switch it back.
flip-flopping after previously calling gerrymandering detrimental to democracy. She says it's now justified after Texas redrew its
That's
maps.
checking
We
in.
want to respond to what we see other states doing at the request of this president.
Republicans say the fight's not over. The state Supreme Court has yet to rule if the referendum was legal to begin with.
We believe we have a very strong case before the state Supreme Court.
Today, President Trump, without proof, said the race was rigged, adding, "Let's see if the courts will fix this travesty of justice." Multiple states have already redrawn maps this year. Republicans say they've likely increased the majority by 3 to 5 seats in Texas. Democrats say the same in California. Both parties making smaller gains in Utah, North Carolina, and Ohio, with Democrats now holding to a 2 to 4 seat gain overall. Next up, Florida, where a proposal meant to gain Republican seats
So we're
may
gonna
be
jump
unveiled
into it
as
'cause it
soon
looks
as
like
next
it's already
week.
starting,
Top
guys.
Democrats.
But let's go. Let's go. Okay, there we go. Here we go.
Everybody in California. That has put $70 billion into the pockets of the oil companies who actually put him in the presidency. Californians are suffering across the board. The biggest problem in California is that the Californians can't afford to live here anymore. The answer on this is not to give up the gas tax, but actually to have a windfall profit tax on the oil companies who have been ripping us off for decades. That's on the books. We can activate it right away. We can get the money, and we should send it directly back to California citizens. The problem we have here is a president who's out of control, who's driving up costs across the board.
Of course, Trump.
And we
That's
actually
all
need
they
to
got.
take on the special interest oil companies who are taking advantage of Californians and making $70 billion more because of this war.
Mr. Steyer, thank you. Ms. Porter, what is your position on the gas tax? You have 60 seconds.
Affordability is not a buzzword for me. It's been my life's work, sitting across from families who have been pushed into bankruptcy by bills they couldn't pay, helping families avoid foreclosure or eviction when they were cheated by subprime lenders. It is too expensive to live in California, and I get that. I'm a single mom of 3. I push a shopping cart and I fill up my minivan, which has nearly 180,000 miles on it. I absolutely feel these pressures, and I think we need to do something about it. But I also want to be clear, 82% of Californians don't breathe clean air today. And when we look at what that's costing our healthcare system, what that's costing people, we have to continue to make investments in having the cleanest fuel that we possibly can. So I absolutely think we ought to be thinking about how to move away from fossil fuels, and that means moving away from a gas tax and replacing that with the general fund taxes.
Ms. Porter, thank you. Mr. Mahan, you support temporarily suspending the gas tax. Some, including the candidates on the stage tonight, have called that proposal unserious. What's your response? You have 60 seconds.
Well, Nikki, Frank, it's great to be here with you this evening. I'm the only candidate on this stage who has called for suspending the gas tax and reforming it so it no longer is the most regressive tax in California that's putting an undue burden on working families like the one I grew up in. Look, I'm in this race because we deserve better answers. We deserve better answers than we've been getting from the other candidates on this stage. We don't need a billionaire who made his money in private prisons and oil and gas that he's now supposedly against, or Trump's hand-picked candidate or a DC insider who the Sacramento establishment is now rallying around. Let me tell you who I am. I grew up in Watsonville, working-class family. My mom was a teacher. My dad was a union mailman. I know what it means when gas prices go up $1 or $2 unnecessarily. I'll reform the gas tax so it's no longer the poorest, hardest working people in our state who are paying an unfair share to maintain our infrastructure.
Mr. Mahan, thank you. Frank.
Mr. Becerra, you have said you don't support suspending the gas tax. Mr. Becerra, you have 60 seconds.
Frank, we need to make sure our roads, our highways,
the potholes. We take care of business because every day people get in their cars, they take transit, they need to get to work, they need to come home. The last thing they need to see is an infrastructure for roads and transportation that doesn't work. I remember when my parents would tell me the stories of when they came with $12 in their pocket. They had to make a life here. They needed to make sure California could work for them. Let's make sure Donald Trump is not starting reckless wars to keep the prices of gasoline down. By up to $2 a gallon, we can reduce the price if that war in Iraq that Donald Trump started would go away. My parents looked at things like this and said, hey, help me make a living here in California. That's why they were able to, at the end of the day, send my three sisters and I to college, buy a house, make it so that they could retire here in California. We need to bring down those prices, but we have to do it the right way. I'll make sure as governor I tackle these crises because I've been through these crises before and had to handle them. We need someone with experience, someone who doesn't need on-the-job training the moment they get into the governor's office.
Mr. Becerra, thank you. Mr. Bianco, you have said you want the total elimination of the gas tax. How would we fund roads and bridges? You have 60 seconds.
So funding roads and bridges is a fundamental responsibility of government. We need to get rid of the rest of all the waste, fraud, and the abuse of the rest of government, which all of the Democrat policies over the last 20 years, 30 years have created. We only have the highest gas price in the country because of Democrat policies that are absolutely destroying the oil industry, the automobile industry, and forcing those prices up, forcing our refineries out of the state, forcing our oil companies from drilling in our state. When you send oil, make it into gasoline and send it to across state lines and it miraculously becomes $2 cheaper, you know that your state is the problem. It is Democrat policies for the last 20, 30 years that are driving the cost of not only gasoline, but the cost of living in California up. We have the highest cost of living in the country because we have had one-party Democrat progressive rule for decades that is destroying this state.
Mr. Bianco, let me ask clarification one more time. How would we fund roads and bridges if you eliminate the gas tax? You have 15 seconds.
We eliminate all of the waste, the fraud, and the abuse that's going on where our money is being spent now. The number one responsibility of government is public safety. Number two is infrastructure. And if you look at where California spends its money, infrastructure is way down the line. Don't say that the gas tax is funding our roads because we have the worst roads in the entire country.
Mr. Bianco, thank you. Mr. Hilton, you support permanently cutting the gas tax in half and eliminating carbon climate policies. With a supermajority of Democrats in the legislature, how would you, as a Republican governor, make any of these changes into law? You have 60 seconds.
We have to make these changes because Californians are being crushed by the gas prices, by the gas tax. We have the highest gas tax in the country for the worst roads in the country. And across the board, we have the highest taxes for the worst results. And you know who's really suffering? It's working Californians. It's small businesses. Most of my career has been in business. I know what it's like to try and run a business. The costs that are being imposed on our businesses and on workers in California is just too much. And one way or another, all the Democrats here are part of this system that obviously isn't working. We need common sense solutions. We need practical solutions. Why are we importing oil from 7,500 miles away in Iraq rather than using the oil we have here in California? That's the kind of common sense change that as governor, I will be there to persuade the legislature to do because they, in the end, want to help Californians too.
And just to clarify the question again, how would you, as a Republican governor, make any of these changes into law with a supermajority of Democrats? 15 seconds.
The first point is that to open up California oil production doesn't need the legislature because it's through executive action. The way that they've been closing it down is through an agency of the executive branch called CalGEM, the California Department of Geologic and Energy Management. I would replace the people in there and give them a clear instruction to issue permits to our oil industry to produce oil here in California so we can cut gas prices for California families and businesses.
Thank you very much. Nikki.
This next question is a follow-up question. It is for all of you. Should electric vehicle drivers pay a mileage-based road tax to fund infrastructure? Mr. Steyer, we'll start with you. You have 30 seconds.
So let me say this. I think it is critical that California get off fossil fuels. Electric vehicles starting cost is too high, and I would triple the credit so that people can afford to buy electric vehicles and no longer be subject to the fossil fuel costs and the fossil fuel control. Should they be paying the equivalent of a gas tax? Yes. But the truth is, electric vehicles are cheaper. That is our future, and we need to move to it as fast as possible.
Mr. Steyer, thank you. Ms. Porter, same question to you. You have 30 seconds.
I think all taxes should be progressive. The very wealthy, the billionaires should pay more. The problem with a gas tax or a vehicle's mile traveled tax is that it does the opposite. It punishes
They didn't want to answer any
income
questions
Californians, those
when
who have the longest
she got
commutes
asked some
to work
questions
and can least
and
afford fancy
they were kind of
vehicles.
skewing a certain
So
way.
I think
She
it's
like
important that we
literally
fund
took
this,
off
as
the
I've
mic and was
said,
like, I'm not going to
out of
answer
the
any of these
general
questions.
fund.
I'm
We
leaving.
do need to
It's
move
like,
toward
okay,
electric
girl.
vehicles over time.
Everybody else answered
The
them. Why are you
reason
not
they're not
answering
getting
them?
purchased isn't range anxiety, it's pocketbook issues.
Ms. Porter, thank you. Mr. Mahan, same question to you. You have 30 seconds.
I would reform the way we're funding infrastructure by issuing a flat fee on all vehicles, whether they're EVs or gas-powered. Right now, gas-powered families, disproportionately lower-income families, people living in rural communities are paying 3 times more to maintain our roads. The way to achieve our climate goals is to invest in innovation, infrastructure, smart targeted subsidies, not to punish working people who can't afford an EV.
Mr. Mahan, thank you. Mr. Becerra, same question to you, and I'll repeat it. Should electric vehicle drivers pay a mileage-based road tax to fund infrastructure? You have 30 seconds.
Well, let's think about our commuters and what they would want to see. I know that they want to see roads, bridges, highways that work for them, that let them get to work, that let them pick up their kids. They don't want to have potholes that ruin their vehicle tires and wheels. They want to have roads, bridges, highways that work. So I would say, let's take a look at all of the above. Whatever works. I'm not going to let our transportation infrastructure crumble. We have to make sure it's working for all of us. And so let's consider anything that works that the public can get behind. That's how I would do it.
Specifically, though, just to clarify here, would you support a tax for electric vehicles? 15 seconds.
If we see that that's one option that people support, I would make sure that we are funding our infrastructure. We can't let that go, because what we have is when we let our roads and our bridges crumble, people suffer, commuters suffer, and we pay a higher price. So we will fund our transportation infrastructure.
Mr. Becerra, thank you. Mr. Bianco, same question to you. You have 30 seconds.
Let me make this very, very clear. California doesn't have a money problem. We have a money spending problem by decades of Democrat failures. Every answer you've had so far for the California public, they're raising your taxes, they're taking more and more of your money because they refuse to stop their spending. No, I will not support a tax on mileage. No, I will not support a gas tax. It is the government's responsibility to have priorities, and infrastructure is an absolute priority. We are getting rid of all the waste, and we are doing what government is supposed to do.
Mr. Bianco, thank you. Mr. Hilton, same question to you. You have 30 seconds.
No, we cannot keep going in this direction with Democrats constantly going for their insatiable appetite for more and more taxes for their bottomless money pit. And now the mileage tax, they want to track you everywhere you drive. No, I would veto that. We need to cut spending and cut taxes so that we can give relief to families and businesses. My plan is for $3 gas and your first 100 grand tax free. That's what we need to do to make our state Cal-affordable.
Mr. Hilton, thank you. Frank?
Affordable.
Our next question tonight is about an issue we all see every day in California: homelessness. There are 187,000 people experiencing homelessness in the state right now. In a recent Inside California Politics poll, 86% of those surveyed believe the homeless problem has stayed the same or is getting worse. We want to ask a question about Governor Newsom's performance on homelessness. What letter grade would you give him on handling the issue, and what, if anything, would you do differently? Ms. Porter, we're going to begin with you. You recently gave the governor a solid A- when it comes to his overall job performance. What grade would you give him on homelessness, and what, if anything, would you do differently?
Terrible.
Yeah.
60 seconds.
I'm a notoriously tough grader, but I would probably give him a B on homelessness. I don't think this has been an easy problem to solve, but I do give him a lot of credit for calling attention to the problem. When he campaigned 8 years ago, he was talking about housing when nobody else was. Our homelessness problem is a direct correlate of our housing problems. We're not going to solve homelessness without bringing down the cost of housing. That's why housing has been my #1 issue since the day I launched this race over a year ago. What I would do differently than Governor Newsom is fund homelessness prevention. It is so much more cost effective and so much more humane to prevent families from becoming homeless in the first place, and making sure that if they do lose their home, that they're able to land in an interim housing or shelter situation. We can't solve this problem because the problem keeps getting worse. For every person we put into permanent supportive housing, somebody else loses their home and takes their place. That's why Californians don't feel like we're making progress despite spending significant money.
Ms. Porter, thank you very much. Mr. Mahan, you've given Governor Newsom grades ranging from A to D depending on the issue. What grade would you give him on homelessness, and what, if anything, would you do differently? You have 60 seconds.
Well, Frank, look, the assessment does depend on the issue, and I'm going to leave the letter grades to you and all the pundits out there. Let me tell you what we've done in San Jose, because we've created a model for the rest of the state. We've increased trust in local government by 40%, primarily because we have moved thousands of people indoors. I had to take on the establishment within my own party to change the way we were spending our money. We were spending $1 million a door and taking years to build alternatives to the streets. Instead, we built basic, dignified shelter, invested in prevention, and when shelter was available, we required that people come indoors. We've reduced unsheltered homelessness in San Jose by nearly 1/3 over the last 4 years. That's why trust in government in San Jose has increased. It's why fewer people are outdoors. And it's part of the reason that our streets are safer and cleaner. I'm proud of what we've done. I'll demand results from every city and every county in California as governor.
I'd like to clarify and ask you one more time to give a letter grade to help voters understand your assessment of Governor Newsom's job on this issue. You have 15 seconds.
All right, Frank, since you insisted, look, I'll give him a B on Care Court and Prop 1 and many of the important initiatives that he championed where I've been proud to stand with him. I'm going to give us all, though, a D on implementation. San Jose has led the way. A few other places have, but we have not delivered the results people deserve.
Thank you very much for the letter grades. Mr. Becerra, we haven't seen
you
issue
a letter
grade
on Governor Newsom's overall performance. What grade does he get on homelessness, and what, if anything, would you do differently? You have 60 seconds.
Frank, I would say that the governor has made efforts. We've seen him come down to Los Angeles, actually go out and try to clean some of the streets. On effort, I would give him an A. Here's what I would do that's different, though. I would focus on accountability. I would make sure if we're sending billions of dollars down to the local communities, to our cities and our counties, that we would demand accountability for the dollar that we're going to give them. We need to see results, and results are what you see on the streets. We need to pull folks up, help get them back on their feet, and that's what I would do. But what I will tell you is my principal job as governor, and I'm glad to hear other people are saying this, is I'm going to keep you housed. If you are in a home right now, renting or owning, if you lose your job unexpectedly, or you have a medical emergency, and now you're about to become homeless as a result of that now unaffordable expense, tell me what you need. How can I help you keep your home? Because it costs me so much more money to pick you off the streets, provide you with the assistance in the shelter, than it does to keep you in the home that you're already paying for.
Mr. Becerra, let me ask you a follow-up question. You're saying that anyone who needs housing assistance, you will help them? That means the government will help them? How much is that going to cost, and where does that money come from? You have 30 seconds.
Yeah, Frank, we spend billions, tens of billions of dollars right now to try to pull people off the streets. Do you think it's working? It would cost us a fraction of that amount to help someone who temporarily lost their job stay in the home. If they, for 2 or 3 months, fall behind on the rent, they don't get kicked out, because we'll try to support them. A zero-interest loan. You can keep them in their home. I save a lot more money by keeping them in the house than watching them hit the streets and then try to find them and pick them up. Far more expensive.
Mr. Becerra, thank you. Nikki?
Mr. Bianco, you have been very critical of Governor Newsom. What grade would you give him on homelessness, and what would you do differently? Well, you have 60 seconds.
I think we've just learned of the failure of the California education system, too, if we can't even realistically assign grades to failure. It is an absolute dismal failure, and anyone that says it's not is fooling themselves or trying to fool voters. We are not dealing with homeless, so stop calling it homeless. It has nothing to do with homes. This is drug and alcohol-induced psychosis, mental illness causing the other. It doesn't matter. But these people are suffering from drug and alcohol abuse and mental illness. We would have fixed this problem probably already had the Democrats in California, in state legislature, and our governor funded Prop 36 to give us the treatment that we need. I am on the front lines of this. I've been on the front lines of this for 33 years. This has nothing to do with the home. Until we actually start caring about these people, you have compassion to look them in the face and tell them that you're going to walk by them and ignore them. If that's what you're going to do, you're just a part of the failure of government. We are going to deal with this for what it is. It is not homes.
Mr. Bianco, I just want to clarify here the second part of the question. If you're elected governor, what would you do differently? You have 15 seconds.
Every single bit of the money going to nonprofits and NGOs for homeless ends the day I take over. And a small portion of that will go to the funding of the drug and alcohol treatment centers that they need, the mental health treatment centers that they need, and then more importantly, the combination of drug and alcohol.
Mr. Bianco, thank you. Mr. Hilton, you've given the governor an F on his overall performance. When it comes to homelessness, has he done anything right? You have 60 seconds.
Well, by the way, I'd love to be in your class, Katie, if you get a B for what Gavin Newsom's done on homelessness. My goodness, of course it's an F. It shames our state, the situation with homelessness. We have about 10% of the US population, around 50% of the country's homeless population. And as for Javier praising Gavin Newsom for the photo op where he tried to pretend he was cleaning up a homeless encampment, literally Gavin Newsom did that 3 times in a row. Nothing changed. And nothing will change if you have one of these Democrats in power. It will be more of the same. My plan is a common sense 3-point plan. Number 1, it is illegal to live and camp on the streets. We need to enforce the law. Number 2, we need to get people into the drug treatment that they need, and it cannot be a choice. Number 3, we need to get people the mental health care that they need instead of the barbaric situation we have right now in California as a result of these Democrat policies, where the main place where we're treating people with mental health problems is jail. That has to change.
Mr. Hilton, thank you. Ms. Porter, Mr. Becerra, I'll let you respond, but I just want to clarify the second part of my question. Do you think the governor has done anything right on homelessness?
No, everything has taken us in the wrong direction. That's why we spend, what is it, the state auditor found, $24 billion of our money spent on homelessness. They have no idea where it went because it's going into these non-profits and crony developers that are, instead of solving the problem, they are profiting
Okay, Mr.
off these
Hilton,
Democrat
thank you. Your time
policies.
is up. Thank you. Ms. Porter, I'll allow you to respond. You have 15 seconds.
If you were in my class, Mr. Hilton, you would learn in my bankruptcy and consumer protection class that the majority of homeless people in California are actually working. They're not just people on the streets. It's not just people with mental illness or people with drug or substance use problems. It's also families who are fleeing intimate partner and domestic violence. It's people who are double and tripled up. It's people who are living in their cars on our college campuses. Homelessness comes in a lot of different forms, and if we don't see the whole problem, if we demonize them from one perspective, we'll never be able to solve this problem.
Ms. Porter, thank you. Mr. Becerra allowed you to respond to Mr. Hilton there. You have 15 seconds.
Well, it's interesting to watch someone who has served as a talking head on a Fox News program telling us how government should run when he never has run any government in his life. And it's fascinating to see that he can do all these things when he's talking about not collecting any revenue to be able to do any of this work. It doesn't add up. The math doesn't work. But then that's what happens. You can be a talking head and not worry about the consequences of what you do.
Mr. Becerra, thank you. Mr. Steyer, the last time you were asked to grade Governor Newsom, let me ask this question. Okay. We know you have a lot to say tonight, and we have a lot to get to. So let me ask you this question here. Mr. Steyer, the last time you were asked to grade Governor Newsom, you passed, saying that you hadn't followed his record closely enough. Are you ready to give him a grade on homelessness? And what, if anything, would you do differently? You have 60 seconds.
So I'd give the governor a B- on this. And I want to start with a simple statement, which is no one gets well on the street. What I would do is make sure to keep as many people off the street, and if they're on the street, to get them off as fast as possible. Because only 1 in 7 people who becomes homeless starts with a serious mental health problem, either bipolarism or some sort of substance abuse. But being on the street itself is such a stressful, vulnerable, dangerous place that it creates mental health problems for many people. That's why I'm in favor of emergency interim housing. Getting people into one room with a key, shared laundry and food. You don't have to be clean, and you can bring your animal. We need to get people off the street. And let's remember this. We want our cities to be walkable and safe. We want kids to be safe walking down the street. Cleaning up this problem gives us a chance to rejuvenate our inner cities, to make them vibrant, and a place where we're going to build more housing and put more people.
And Mr. Steyer, I just want to clarify that last part when you said get people off the streets and into housing. Is that something that you would force them to do?
Well, let me say this. The point about emergency interim housing is this. People want to go to it. This is something that actually is designed to meet their needs, as opposed to the huge shelters or waiting 7 years to get them into permanent housing, which costs, Matt Mahan was saying it costs $1 million a key, and the numbers I've heard of between $750,000 and $1 million. Being homeless for 7 years is an incredibly dangerous thing to do, and it's the most compassionate thing we can do, is to provide the interim housing that gets people to places they want to be.
Mr. Steyer, thank you. Mr. Mahan, I'll let you respond since he invoked your name and called out the figure there.
Yeah, thanks. Well, look, it has cost $1 million a door. I can show you the receipts from projects that have been approved across the Bay Area. It's worth keeping in mind, you know, the only housing Tom Steyer's built has been private prisons and ICE detention centers. Here's the truth. The reality is when you build interim housing, and what Tom's pointing to is the San Jose model. We've built interim housing, dignified alternatives to the streets. 70, 80% of people have been willing to come indoors. There's also a share of folks who are out there who are unwilling or unable to come indoors.
Mr. Mahan,
we have to be able to mandate treatment.
Mr. Mahan, thank you. Mr. Steyer, I'll give you 15 seconds.
So let me say this. My wife and I started a nonprofit bank to basically go in and support the people who can't get financing from normal banks. We have financed 17,000 low-income housing units. We have made sure that every loan is measured only for its impact on the community, either in terms of economic growth or environmental sustainability, and we don't make a dime out of it, and we absolutely never will.
Mr. Steyer, thank you. Now we would like to ask a question about each of your individual campaigns. You will have 1 minute to answer this question. Mr. Mahan, we will start this round with you. Artificial intelligence is replacing jobs in every industry. Your campaign is supported in part by billionaire tech executives. How can voters concerned about AI trust you to work for them and not the tech industry? You have 60 seconds.
I think that's going to be a really big issue for people.
I'm the only candidate on this stage who has direct experience with deploying AI in government and regulating it. We created the playbook in San Jose that hundreds of other cities and counties use to put restrictions on how technology is used. Being the mayor of the largest city in Silicon Valley, I am at the forefront of these technological changes. I know that these tools can be harnessed to do great good, to make government more efficient and more responsive. We've sped up buses and improved language access, but I also understand the risks to privacy, misinformation and manipulation, job loss, which is why we've put strict regulations on our use of technology that other cities are following. We've created the first AI upskilling curriculum for our workforce so that they aren't displaced by technology, but they can use it to enhance their work. I am not afraid to regulate big tech or any other industry, and as governor, I'll make sure we protect the people of California.
Mr. Mahan, thank you. Mr. Becerra, you were chair of the Democratic caucus when Eric Swalwell was elected to Congress. You said in a recent interview that, quote, many of us heard the rumors. What rumors did you hear, and should you have pursued the rumors as a member of Democratic leadership? You have 60 seconds.
Thanks, Nikki. Yeah, you hear rumors all the time about all sorts of things. Rumors are not facts, and the caucus, the Democratic caucus, is not a place that adjudicates those things. It's law enforcement that does. If someone had come forward, we could then have investigations. I say that as the former Attorney General for the state of California. When I was Attorney General, we did go after sex trafficking. We did go after those who abuse of young women and take advantage of them. We did prosecute people. There was an individual who was a religious leader who was taking advantage of young women. We prosecuted that individual. Today, he is in jail for his crimes. We have gone after people, but we go after them based on evidence and based on facts. Unfortunately, we have a president today who would go after someone based on rumors. That's not the way we do it in America. We have to have the facts. Rumors are one thing, but getting the facts really gets you to move. And let me just applaud those courageous survivors who stood up and told America what the truth was. And today, Eric Swalwell was facing accountability.
Mr. Becerra, thank you. Frank.
Mr. Bianco, you took an unprecedented action recently, seizing 650,000 certified ballots by your own county election officials as part of an investigation into election fraud because of an allegation by one group. The California Supreme Court has ordered that investigation paused for now. Do you believe California elections are secure, and would you consider taking the same action after the primary election if you don't believe the results? You have 60 seconds.
Well, we're never going to know if our elections are secure, because when law enforcement does legitimate investigations into the allegations, it's stopped by our current Democrat one-party rule in California, particularly our embarrassment of an attorney general. So this was a very, very basic, normal investigation. The allegation didn't come from a group. It came from reports that our own records, county records from the Registrar of Voters, that do not match the output of votes counted. So a very simple investigation would have counted those ballots to see if they match the votes. But we now have a massive political outcry from our Attorney General using political lawfare to stop a lawful investigation. And it wasn't stopped. The investigation was not stopped by the Supreme Court. It was stopped so we could argue these ridiculous allegations from the Attorney General about whether or not he has authority to stop that investigation in the first place.
And to clarify, would you consider taking the same action after this primary election if you don't believe the results? You have 15 seconds.
You made that assumption that that's why this happened. That is absolutely horrific that you basically said that I did that because of how I felt. If we get information, I've been 33 years in law enforcement investigating crime. Do you want me to start doing that with murders? I mean, this is ridiculous. This is an absolute ridiculous question. This is a ridiculous topic because we have an allegation of voter fraud. And Californians are sick of voter fraud. They're sick of politics, and they believe there's voter fraud. But when we try to fix it, it is stopped.
All right, Mr. Bianco, thank you. Mr. Hilton, you said you were deeply honored to recently receive President Trump's endorsement. That's despite the fact that 62% of Californians disapprove of the job he is doing. Are those Californians wrong? You have 60 seconds.
One of the proudest days of my life was the day I became an American citizen. It happened in a ceremony right here
like this guy's
in San
acting,
Francisco.
Guys.
So it is
I'm
a
so
deep
glad
honor
that
for
he
me
got endorsed by
to
Trump,
be endorsed by the President of the United States.
Accent.
And here's the thing that's going to help every Californian when I'm governor, is that we will have a constructive relationship and partnership with the federal government, which would be the case, I would hope, for any party in that situation, so that we can make things better in California, work with the president and his administration to manage our forests better, to harvest the timber so we can build the single-family homes we need for young families, to work to increase California energy production as he wants to do, so we can lower gas prices, to fight the fraud in our government so we can cut spending and cut taxes, to work to enforce our immigration laws. In all these areas and more, it will benefit every Californian to have a governor who is a partner on these issues with the president and his team.
Nikki?
Mr. Steyer, you are the only billionaire in this race.
I would
According
love
to
both
reports,
of the
you and your wife paid
Republicans to
$5.4
win.
million in
That'd
federal
be
taxes
crazy
in
that they
2024.
will only have those two
You have said
choices.
repeatedly, quote, tax me more. How much more should you be paying? And there's nothing preventing you from paying more. Have you? So you have 60 seconds.
So let me say this. I'm the only billionaire on the ballot, Nikki, but I'm not the only billionaire in this race.
Oh, no, he's too old. Nah.
The billionaires and corporations are spending big in this race to oppose me and to support the other people on this stage. In 2024, corporations spent $540 million to lobby in Sacramento. They are literally spending tens of millions of dollars against me. I'm the billionaire who wants to tax other billionaires. I'm the billionaire who's taking on the electric monopolies and trying to break up their power. I'm the billionaire who wants to tax the oil companies and make polluters pay. So when you say I'm the only billionaire in the race, yes, but I'm the person who is the change agent in this state. I'm the person who's taking on the funded corporate interests who are driving up costs for Californians in every place. No one wants to take them on. I'm doing it. They're spending tens of millions. And let me say this. On Earth Day, the oil companies dropped $5 million today against me to fight me on Earth Day. Thank you very much.
Mr. Steyer, thank you. And I just want to clarify for people watching this right now, two parts of the question. You said tax me more. How much more? And there's nothing preventing you from paying more taxes, have you?
My wife and I have said that we will give the bulk of our money away while we're alive and in the process of doing that. But me paying more taxes is not the answer. I've said I believe
you
people
can say
should.
that again, Tom.
Wait, no,
Mr.
Steve,
Hilton,
let me finish.
Mr. Hilton.
I've said one person putting more money into the system.
Mr. Hilton, if you guys are both talking, people at home won't be able to hear you. So
if
continue,
one
Mr.
person
Steyer.
puts more money into the government,
They don't want both of them because he's got probably something to say. Because you got to remember, this is a left
where Californians are being ripped off, where it's impossible for them
the moderators
to make
might not
rent
be
at the
so
end. Taking on the
nice
special
about it, I
interests,
guess.
and they're fighting back.
Mr. Steyer,
They're the person who are
Mr.
coming
Steyer,
after me
thank you.
because they're scared of me.
Mr. Steyer,
These
thank you.
guys,
Frank.
shut the heck up,
Ms.
man.
Porter, you've acknowledged that your interactions within aid and with a reporter captured on videos which went viral were, in your words, a bad look, and that you could have done better. What have you done to address those concerns? And as a person who frequently speaks about being a parent on the campaign trail, what would you tell your own kids if they ever faced a boss like that? You have 60 seconds.
I apologized that day to that staffer 4 years ago, and I took responsibility then, and I have taken responsibility since, acknowledging that it was not the right way to treat someone. And that is a big contrast to what we have seen other candidates do when they have been called out for misconduct. I'm proud that that staffer in that video and I continued to work together for 4 years following that incident, and it speaks to how I addressed it. I work hard with my team to deliver for Californians, things like free COVID testing in the first weeks of the pandemic, things like cracking down on pharmaceutical price gouging, calling out a bank CEO for the fact that their employees couldn't pay for housing. All of my accomplishments have come from my team. And I would say that if somebody is treating you rudely, you should speak up. And that's what I would want my children to do. And that's what I did when I was being pushed again and again and again to kowtow, to give in and defend Donald Trump when he was engaged in despicable actions. I wasn't going to do that for that reporter, and I will not do it as governor.
Ms. Porter, thank you very much. And with that, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to ask the candidates about an exclusive report that shed new light on a battle between California and the Trump administration.
Okay.
You are watching Debate Night in California.
Debate night. They're like, debate me, man, debate me. These people could go on, and it's funny to watch them talk. You guys let me know in the comments below, who is your favorite person, who you're pulling for. Like I said, guys, I like the guy with the accent. I don't know. There's just something about an accent. It just sounds awesome. Like whenever I hear my dude talk, he's also a good one. He's got that like PR accent, you know. And he doesn't. Well, yeah, sort of. It comes out in him sometimes. But if anything, he has more of a Chicago style accent. But yeah, I just like accents. I think they sound cool. I was on the Amtrak, guys, and I was traveling from Chicago to Texas, and I ran into these people that have been living in our country, you know, and they're citizens in our country for like, I don't know, 30 years. And the girl's husband still talks with his like British accent, which was so cool. I don't know. I got issues, guys. I got issues. I'm just waiting. Oh my god, they're applying makeup to the chick, guys. You see that? They're like, you need a touch up, lady. Ain't nothing gonna help that lady. I'm just saying. Like, if you can't have a person that can handle an interview and handle hard questions, because I noticed this about the right and the left. When people get interviewed, like if you watch CNN, they go hard on the right. You know, they ask all these tough questions and follow-ups, but on the left, they do softball questions. They're always like kind of directing them towards the answer.
Tell me what this sign means.
That's crazy. Oh Lord, here we go.
So what does this mean? What is it telling you? What does this sign mean?
This video is captured following the U.S. Department of Transportation withholding $40 million in funding, saying California is the only state in the country that refuses to ensure big rig drivers can read road signs and communicate with law enforcement.
Mr. Becerra, we begin this round with you. Should the CHP be giving English proficiency tests to truck drivers?
Yes.
And if not, would you as governor push back against the Trump administration on this policy?
Yes.
You have 60 seconds.
I would definitely push back on the Trump administration on, again, a reckless policy. I would make sure that that officer understands that he cannot discriminate against any driver without having a basis to do so.
They should be able to speak
I
English.
understood a little bit of what that individual was trying to say. I couldn't see the signs, but it certainly sounded like he was trying to describe what that particular sign was trying to represent. And so we have to be very careful that we're not profiling consumers in California, drivers in California. It is against the law. And our police officers, while they try to do the best job of keeping safety, have to understand they have to abide by the rules and treat everyone, every motorist, the same way. And so if that officer had some basis to be qualified, let's take a look at that. But let's not find that people are being discriminated against because of what they look like. Is that officer asking everyone he pulls over to
I don't think he needs to.
Road signs, or is he asking only people who look like me?
If they pull me over, I got it.
If he's doing that, then he's violating the law.
I have my license.
And I just want to clarify, do you think CHP should be giving English proficiency tests?
As far as I know, the Academy does not train CHP officers to be giving English proficiency exams. So that officer has some explaining to do.
Mr. Becerra, thank you. Mr. Bianco, you are the only law enforcement officer on the stage tonight. Should this type of roadside testing become standard practice across California? And what should happen to drivers if they do fail? You have 60 seconds.
Well, we have to, first off, acknowledge that we actually do have rules and we actually do have laws. And if they are not abiding by those laws and California is giving them driver's licenses when they do not qualify for those driver's licenses, and we're sending them out onto the streets. We also have seen several horrific accidents that were attributed to people that did not understand English or that could not comprehend the road signs or the street signs that they were supposed to be abiding by. So we don't know the context of this. This is what's super important, especially in law enforcement. You have to know the entire context of this entire stop and this entire video,
you're just
not
showing
just
like a short
the small section.
clip.
But
Like,
if he is
why did they
verifying
end up there,
whether or not someone can read signs, my guess is he was stopped for violating a sign, and he's trying to verify that he could. And let's stop with this whole racism thing and racial profiling and all of this garbage. We have to get over this. You either violated the law or you didn't. End of story. Consequences for bad behavior.
Mr. Bianco, thank you. Mr. Hilton, would you require full compliance with the federal language standards for truck drivers? You have 60 seconds.
So I've discussed this with someone called Marcus Coleman from Bakersfield. His beautiful daughter, Delilah, was put into a coma by someone driving a truck. An illegal immigrant, didn't speak English, and his daughter now disabled for life. That's what we're dealing with here. It is completely ridiculous that we have people driving on our roads who can't understand road signs and can't speak English. So yes, of course, and I've discussed this with my friend Sean Duffy, the Transportation Secretary, we will not be issuing commercial driver licenses when I'm governor to people who are illegally here and who don't speak English. That is obvious common sense.
Yep. Mr. Hilton, thank you. Frank.
Mr. Steyer, where do you draw the line on this? Should language proficiency for truckers be strictly enforced, even if it means that some of them will probably lose their jobs? You have 60 seconds.
Look, I agree with what was said, which is we don't know the context of this stop. But what I can say is this: racial profiling is illegal.
How is that racial profiling?
Fact, picking on people based on the color of their skin in the state of California is illegal. I have a program
Okay,
for ICE that
within the
involves
Latin community, you have
prosecuting them for
people
racial
that are like my
profiling,
tone.
prosecuting them for
I've met
violence
some like
against
Latinos, like
Californians
Puerto
and the
Ricans,
supervisors,
who were like
studying,
dark,
investigating their
that you would think
detention
that they were
centers,
black.
having legal
I
defense
have
funds for
met
people who've been
some
kidnapped and
Puerto
put in those
Ricans and some
detention centers,
Mexicans
and a Know Your
who are
Rights PR
super white,
campaign.
and what
Listen,
we as
what we're
Latinos call
talking
it
about
pan
here is
blanco,
whether
like white, like bread, man.
police officers
Like
and the
they
criminal
literally
justice
look
system
like they
treats
could
people
be,
fairly
you
based
know,
on the color
Polish.
of their skin.
My ex, I
will
told you
say
guys
this,
that a million
Donald
times. My
Trump
ex is white.
posted against me
He
last
has
week
colored
because
eyes. He
I
has
said
green
ICE
eyes
has to obey the law
and
in
like blondish
California.
hair.
The head
And
of
people
ICE
always thought he was
posted
like
against me.
Polish,
But I'm not going
but
to
he's
step
not.
back
He's
because the truth
Mexican,
is
full-blooded Mexican.
racial profiling is
So,
illegal, violence
when they
is
talk
illegal,
about all
and we
this
need the
stupid
government of
racial
California
profiling,
needs to stand up for
sorry,
Californian
I don't buy
citizens
that.
every time.
Mr. Steyer, thank you. Ms. Porter, same question. Do you believe that English proficiency, language proficiency, should be strictly enforced for truck drivers? You have 60 seconds.
I think it should
I
be
would
enforced
absolutely
across the
fight
board.
the Trump administration because the job of the
Shut
California governor is to protect Californians. And right now, that includes protecting them from Donald Trump. Protecting Californians also includes enforcing traffic laws. And we've seen sometimes a need for oversight in California. For example, we have seen that the Department of Motor Vehicles was not enforcing rules around DUIs and drivers who had convictions for that. I am stunned that Mr. Bianco would say to black and brown Californians and immigrants who are being terrorized and racially profiled that you have to get over racism. It's not something that you get over. It's something that you fight. And if he doesn't understand the importance of that, he has no business representing a state with the diversity of California.
Ms. Porter, thank you very much. Mr. Bianco, I'll give you 15 seconds to respond.
Yeah, again, that's not even close to what I said. What I said is we're Californians, and I'm speaking for them, especially from law enforcement, when I deal with persons of color every single day, Californians are absolutely sick and tired of our politicians making race the basis of everything. It is not. And this racial divide that they are pushing between law enforcement and the public, or Democrat and Republican, absolutely has to stop. And I'm telling you, we are sick of it.
Mr. Bianco, thank you. Mr. Mahan, as a mayor of a city in which 42% of the residents are foreign-born, do you believe that English proficiency tests for truckers are necessary? You have 60 seconds.
No, Frank, the right answer here is clearly to hold the DMV accountable for ensuring that every driver on our roadway meets the qualifications for the license that they have. That's the appropriate entity to do this. And as the mayor of not only one of the most diverse big cities in the country, but the safest big city in the country, let me tell you what creates real public safety. It's rooted in trust. When people trust the law enforcement officers who serve the community, it means that residents are more likely to report crime, to serve as witnesses, to provide evidence. We made San Jose the safest big city in the country by building that trust between law enforcement and the community that they serve. That will be my priority as governor, but we should never lower the standard that agencies like the DMV enforce. As governor, I will also ensure that every state agency lives up to its responsibility.
Clarification, English proficiency, 15 seconds. Exams?
The DMV has exams, and it's not about whether or not you speak English. I represent one of the most diverse cities and the safest city. What the DMV is responsible for doing is not testing how good your English is. It's whether or not you're a safe driver who understands the rules.
All right, Mr. Mahan, thank you. Nikki?
This is another round where you will all be getting the same question. We're asking for a yes or no answer here. If you do not finish in the top two on June 2nd, will you endorse your party's nominee? Mr. Steyer, we will start with you. Yes or no?
I think it's the two Republicans that are the only ones that are making common sense.
Yes or no?
Yeah, I said yes.
The other ones are
Thank you,
just
Mr. Steyer. Ms. Porter.
just using a bunch of white, not white.
I guess we are going to let you elaborate,
talking
so I'll go
point.
back to you, Mr. Steyer. I'll give
Which
you
is
15
stupid.
seconds.
Let me put it to you this way. If there's a Republican in the race, that Republican will be supported by and also supporting Donald Trump. Donald Trump is raising our gas prices. Donald Trump is kicking 1 to 3 million people off Medi-Cal.
For real.
Donald
I mean,
Trump
it really is like that.
He is trying to punish
Like
California
I think
every
you
way
might
he
have
can.
missed when they were
And the
talking
people who are
about
supporting him
having
are
the
also
proficiency
supporting ICE.
test for
That is an
driver's license,
a
like
legal
for CDLs.
organization that is
And they're like, oh,
terrorizing
that's
and
racist,
victimizing
that's
people.
racial
Sorry, thank
profiling.
you.
And it's
support
like,
that.
nah,
Mr.
dude,
Sorry,
they
thank you.
should
Ms.
know
Porter,
how
I
to
know that you
read
said yes.
our
Your
sign,
response.
and they should
Yes,
know
absolutely.
English.
And I have a track record
Like
of
you're not going to go
supporting
to
other
France
Democrats.
and not learn
Mr.
the
Steyer likes
language
to talk about his
and be like, oh,
giving
they should
pledge,
talk
but
like
what
me.
he's
They
done
should
with his
only
own
be
money
talking
is
English.
more
It's
give
like,
me
no.
an opportunity to be the governor. I think it's really important that we support
But yeah,
other
they just keep
Democrats.
saying
I've
like, oh, the racial
campaigned for other
profiling,
people
and
in
y'all see
purple
how my
seats. I've
skin
raised
color.
money for other people.
Okay,
I was a successful
never got
fundraiser
racial
and a
profiling.
successful campaigner, and
Because
I've
I followed
used
the
that
law.
to beat Donald Trump everywhere we can, and I would do the same thing in
Ms.
this
Porter,
race.
Ms. Porter, thank you. Mr. Mahan, we'll come to you. If you don't finish in the top two on June 2nd, will you endorse your party's nominee? You have 15
Yeah,
seconds.
imagine what they're
Well,
going
we
to
don't
do
have party
once Trump is
primaries,
gone.
but assuming there's
Who
a
are they going to
Democrat
blame?
and a
Because
Republican, I'll endorse the Democrat,
Donald
but I
Trump
will
train
make
is going to
very
be
clear to
gone,
them and everyone else that the
and
best
all these like
resistance to
youth
Donald
places
Trump
that
is
all they
delivering
did was
results in
Trump
people's lives,
are going to
just as I've done as the mayor
like
of the third
crazy.
largest city in the state, where we're building thousands of homes.
Mr.
We've
Mahan,
reduced
thank you.
crime and reduced homelessness.
He said, "Shut up."
Mr. Mahan, thank you. Mr. Becerra, same question to you.
What we need is the best person who can fight those who are attacking California, like Donald Trump. Someone who's
I don't
actually
like this guy
taken on
either.
Donald Trump, not just fought, but won. Not someone who just wants to fight to do more for housing, but has and can improve the lives of so many people, has fought for better health care. I will support that Democrat in the runoff.
Mr. Becerra,
I'm hoping
thank you.
I'm the one that's there.
Mr. Becerra,
Like,
thank
oh
you.
my
Frank.
God, be
I'll
quiet,
ask the
bro.
Republicans now. We've heard from the
Oh, we're
Democrats.
gonna ask the
Mr. Bianco,
Republicans.
if you do not finish in the top two on June 2nd, will you endorse your party's nominee? 15 seconds.
The only people who are hurting California are Democrats. It is not Donald Trump. They keep saying Donald Trump because Democrat policies are a dismal failure in California. They have nothing to point to. If I'm not going to support my opponent because it's going to be he and I going to November.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
and it seems
Mr.
like they
Hilton,
do
if
that
you do not
more so
finish
with the
in
right
top
than they do
two
with the
on
left.
June 2nd, will you endorse your party's nominee? 15
Yes,
seconds.
yes, I will, because we've had 16 years of
And that should be
one-party
the guy
rule
that
by
was,
these Democrats. It's given us
endorsed by
the
Donald Trump.
highest poverty rate, the highest unemployment rate, the highest cost of living in America. It is obviously desperately time for change in California. It's time for some balance in our system. We have to elect a Republican as governor this year.
Thank you very much. Nikki.
Now we are going to go
imagine
to our
if they
closing
do.
statements, but that does not mean the debate is over. We will continue to be live on our last half hour of our digital channels and on YouTube. To get there quickly, just scan the QR code on your left side of your screen. Mr. Mahan, we will begin with you. Closing statements, you have 30 seconds.
Thanks, Nikki. I'm running for governor because Californians deserve better. We deserve a government
guy
that
looks like he'd
is
be
accountable
steamrolled.
for delivering results
Like,
in people's
he
lives.
looks like a
As mayor
beta.
of the third
Like,
largest
like,
city in the
he
state,
literally
I've delivered
is a
the
toy boy.
biggest
That's what he looks like.
decreases
Like, he
in
looks like he
crime
would be eaten
and
up and
homelessness.
chewed
We have
and
thousands
spit
of
out
homes under
because
construction. I know
he
what
just
it looks
looks
like
weak.
to take on the establishment within my own party to make government deliver results for working people. We don't need MAGA, but we also don't need more of the same.
Okay,
That's why I'm
bro,
offering something
okay.
Mr.
different.
Mahan, thank you. Ms. Porter, you have 30 seconds.
California,
I mean, for
this
real.
election
We
is
need
about
those
who you can
alphas, man.
trust to fight for you. One candidate is a billionaire who got
Definitely
rich
don't
off
need a woman,
polluters and ICE
just so you know.
prisons and is now using that
I know I
money
get a
to
lot of
fund
hate.
his
I'll probably get a lot of
election.
hate for it, but
Another
I think
candidate for
she
nearly
needs to
40
just go.
years, cashed
I don't
corporate
think we need a
checks
woman
and then
running
lacked the courage to
anything
take them
at this
on.
point.
I'm not like them.
Not
I
failed.
have never taken corporate money. That's why I have always stood firm against Donald Trump and special interests. I'm like you, a mom fighting for a better future for California.
Kind of looks like the little kid from
Ms. Porter,
Hereditary.
thank you. Mr. Becerra, you have 30
The girl
seconds.
that got her
California is
head,
going
whatever.
through a crisis, and we need someone who knows how to govern in crisis, not someone who's going to need training wheels the moment they walk into the governor's office. This is a time to have someone
Why?
who's actually
I like
fought
talking.
those crises, whether it's the man-made crisis coming from Washington, D.C., or whether it's the cost of living crisis that
One
we
of my
face
favorite
here
things to do,
at
guys.
home. We need someone who's actually
Sorry.
fought
I can't
and
hear it.
won.
I apologize.
Beat back Donald Trump to save the Affordable Care Act all the way to the Supreme Court. Beat back Donald Trump in preserving the DACA program for Dreamers. Been able to do that and win for the people.
Mr. Becerra, thank you. Mr. Bianco, you have 30 seconds.
Yeah, we have all heard their platform now. It's more taxes
All right,
and a
let's go.
complete lack of responsibility. I have 33 years years of dealing with the consequences of their poor decisions and of their poor policies and the Democrat agenda for the last 33 years. I'm running for Californians because Californians do deserve better. They deserve someone with honesty, transparency, integrity, and most importantly,
him and the
proven
other
leadership.
Republican guy,
If you want the status quo, keep the status quo. If you want a better California, I'm asking for your vote.
Mr. Bianco, thank you. Mr. Steyer, you have 30 seconds.
The people raising the cost for California don't want me to be governor. I'm the change agent here, and they don't want change. And in politics, it's pretty easy to figure out who you are by seeing who opposes you and who supports you. Let me tell you who opposes me. The oil companies, PG&E, the realtors, the drug companies, Donald Trump, and the head of ICE. Let me tell you who supports me. Progressives,
Guys are gonna make me blush.
environmentalists, organized labor, including teachers and nurses. None of these people are fighting anybody else no one else on this stage is having these corporate special interests oppose them. They want to stop me because I'm going to change California.
Steyer, thank you. Mr. Hilton, closing statements, you have 30 seconds.
We obviously need change in California. The system is not working. I'm the only one here who's never run for office before. I'm not part of this system. These Democrats can't get it done. Matt Mahan talks about his record in San Jose. Actually, homelessness and crime are going up. Javier Becerra talks about his time in government. He thought it was a good idea to put masks on 2-year-olds. We need real change in California. We need to think different. We need to vote different. My plan to make our state Cal-affordable is real and serious, and we can get it done if we just vote differently this year.
Mr. Hilton, thank you.
All right, with that wraps up the first hour of our debate tonight. We want to thank all of the candidates, first of all, for being here. We hope you will join us for another half hour of the debate, including your viewer questions. We're streaming live on your local Nexstar station's Plus channel. You can also watch it by scanning the QR code on your screen. We will see you right back here on your digital channel in 2.5 minutes.
2.5 minutes, guys. He was the clever kid that everyone used to hate.
We have been watching the California gubernatorial debate in San Francisco. 6 candidates on the stage making their pitch to voters to hopefully be in that top 2 spot at the end of the June 2nd primary and make it to the general election. My name is Corey Smith, host of Sunrise on the Hill. Joining me, Maddie Beer Temple, Washington correspondent for Nexstar, and Caroline Vakil, campaign reporter for The Hill. Guys, good being with you at the cusp of 11 p.m. here on the East Coast. We'll just start with overall impressions of what you saw tonight. We were waiting to see if anybody was going to separate themselves either through specific policy points or maybe some one-liners. Did we get any of those things tonight? Caroline, we'll start with you.
Sure. I think that it seemed like there was not really a clear standout moment for any of the candidates. I do think that there may have been a gaffe by billionaire Tom Steyer for essentially suggesting that raising his taxes was not going to, having him pay more taxes was not going to be the solution for a problem. I could see that being recycled into ad campaigns moving forward. But, this debate, the onus is on the Democrats to be able to separate themselves and to offer some momentum since former Congressman Swalwell's exit. And it kind of remains to be seen right now if Democrats were even able to move the needle that much.
Like Maddie, what did you make of what we saw tonight?
Yeah, I agree a lot with what Caroline said. I don't know that there was a huge standout moment. Definitely that exchange with Steyer where he described himself as a change agent, but said me paying more taxes is not the answer, quote. Definitely something that might get played about. But I think we did get a chance to learn more about who some of these candidates are, even if one didn't necessarily stand out from the pack. We heard Matt Mahan talk about what he's done in San Jose, and I think he tried to separate himself as a mayor in saying, here are some of the actions I have taken to deal with homelessness, whereas some of the other candidates maybe have never run for office, like Steve Hilton, who tried to use that to his advantage in describing himself as an outsider. So I think we learned a little bit more about how the candidates are positioning themselves. I'm not sure there was any huge back and forth. There was that exchange with Porter and Bianco when they were talking about law enforcement and language proficiency standards. for truck drivers. So we did see, some difference there, but I don't know that anybody really stuck out in a big way.
Let's go ahead and bring in Jeffrey Skelly, Chief Elections Analyst at DDHQ. Jeffrey, good evening to you. We talked about it in the pre-show, sort of the upheaval that this race has seen ever since Eric Swalwell, who at the time was considered by many to be the front runner, dropped out of the race. That's why you had San Jose Mayor Matt Mahan on the stage. That's why you had Javier Becerra on the stage, because they were able to shoot up through the polls over that 5% threshold. Where are things now from a polling perspective, given that it is up to the top two people to make it to the November ballot, regardless of what their party affiliation might be?
Like, he did that thing
Right.
where
Well,
he
thanks for
was
having me.
saying like
Steve Hilton,
how
the
he's
Trump
not
endorsed
like
Republican
smart
candidate, has
and
been in
like he
first place
can't
for a
read,
while
and it's
now.
like,
Now, when I
bro,
say that, it's not
no,
that he's
don't do
got
that. You're over here
an
trying to relate to
unbelievable amount of
people in
support.
the
This is a
worst
very
way.
fragmented, crowded race. No one is breaking 20%, and at the moment, 5 candidates are at 10% or more. So in that sense, I do think that because Swalwell left the race and now Betty E has dropped out, though she wasn't particularly polling all that well, you are creating the circumstances where it is more likely that one Democrat will finish in the top 2, because the Democratic vote, which will be much larger than the Republican vote as a share of the primary vote, won't be fragmented and fractured across multiple candidates to quite the same degree that I think that there was a risk of. I would say that there's a reason Tom Steyer was getting the most shots taken by other Democrats at him tonight.
That was the
And I
route
think
he
that's
went.
because
I'm
he's
just
best
like you,
positioned
man.
to
I
capitalize on
can't read
Swalwell's
either.
departure. He was the best polling
Like,
Democrat
okay,
when
guy.
Swalwell left the race, and he is currently in second place. At the same time, though, Javier Becerra made a lot of progress in recent polling. He may be someone that Swalwell supporters are turning to, looking at as a possibility. And I do wonder if Porter, because of a lot of the stories early on in this campaign about the thing that she even talked about apologizing for on stage tonight, some of her interactions with staffers and what have you that made the news early in this campaign. I don't know how much she can recover from that.
If you can explain what we're seeing on the screen, we certainly appreciate you sharing your screen. This is a polling average that we're looking at right now. How recent is the data that we're seeing right now?
Right. So we have polling data up through April 19th, because in the aftermath of Eric Swalwell's departure from the race, a number of pollsters were like, "Oh, let's take a new temperature of where things stand." And so if you look at the polling average here, the red line on top is Steve Hilton, the green line that's in second is Tom Steyer, and then the yellow line is Chad Bianco, who is the other main Republican in the race. And so there is still that possibility of 2 Republicans finishing in first and second. Bianco even mentioned that in his closing statement that he and Hilton would advance. That's, I think that's a pretty glass half full look at things, but nonetheless, it's still possible that could happen. But then you see that sort of teal line, I guess would probably be the best way to describe it. And that's Becerra really jumping up here in polls over the last few days in the aftermath of Swalwell's departure. And then Porter sort of in the same sort of 10% range that she's been in for a bit. And then a big question mark is Matt Mahan. I think he's less familiar to people outside of San Jose. He does have a lot of outside money coming into the race to support him on ad spending, which is very expensive in San Francisco. You have a lot of major metropolitan areas
I know it's between
to spend
the
on
crazy
ad
left
money to
or
familiarize yourself with
like
voters.
the
So
right,
it remains to be
and
seen if
a lot of the
Mahan
people
can
on the
maybe
right
also
were
make a
moderate,
leap
because
in
you have to
the
remember
aftermath of Swalwell's departure. But at the end of the day,
bar
he's just not as well
swung.
known.
So
You
people
mentioned
that were in the
teal that we're
center
seeing
are
there,
not considered
Javier
right
Becerra.
wing, which is crazy.
Could you gauge sort of the volatility of the race, of the polling once Swalwell dropped out of the race? Were there any other candidates who maybe saw a
So
little
this
bit
is
of
what I'm
bump,
showing,
or has
and
it just
this
been
is
sort of Javier Becerra
270
coalescing
to
that
win.
Eric Swalwell
So
voter
we're
block
showing, and this is for
behind his campaign?
2026, guys.
So in the
2026
average, at
polls
least, it
for
has mostly
California
been
governor.
Becerra.
I'm still watching to see when they come back. But it looks like so far that Steve Hilton, which is like the British dude, he actually has really good numbers. I can also check the voting where people, pay money to see who they assume is going to win and see what they're thinking. But you do have him here where he's at 18%. You have like Steve Steyer, Bianco. Bianco's at 14. At least he's tying with Steyer. So that's good, I guess. Let's see who else we got. So Porter, 12. So the rest are like red. So yeah, I would say these are the top 3 contenders, which is 2 Republicans and a Democrat, which is crazy. Now I wonder if he ends up wanting to move on, if they're just this guy's gonna drop out of the race, or if this guy's gonna drop out of the race. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see. Let's go back to these people, see if they are done talking.
Has built is private prisons and ICE detention facilities. I also found Katie Porter's line about, Tom Steyer's giving plan is actually a give me plan, and spending the money that he wants to ultimately become governor. Caroline, I'll go back to you. In terms of the 2 Republicans that were on that stage, I know there was a recent debate in California between Hilton and Bianco where things really did get heated. Didn't seem like their fire was trained on each other. Maybe that's a function of Hilton thinking that he doesn't really need to take on Bianco and that he is ultimately going to end up in that top 2. But did you come away feeling like either of these Republicans separated themselves in this race?
I think what you mentioned there is a really astute point. I noticed that as well, that both Republicans were, keeping the jabs away from each other and towards Democrats. Because I think that, their hope is probably to let Democrats duke it out and leave it messy. And we did see that a little bit between Tom Steyer and Matt Mahan.
I think especially when they were saying MAGA's turning on Trump, Republicans are turning on. I'm like, well, I'm not. I don't regret my vote.
I would say.
It's like it's better than the other
it really
choice.
Did sort of seem like he,
imagine
leaning into the Trump
Harris
endorsement.
having to deal with Iran and Russia.
Sort of felt like he was sort of solidified.
Somebody who's been on TV before, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Felt a little bit more comfortable.
I don't know who these people are pulling. That's why I think a lot of people are using other things. So one thing I notice a lot of people do like to use, where they say it's kind of inaccurate, and it's hard
so I think that for Steve Hilton,
for a lot of these people to actually poll, because Trump kind of threw that out the window. Because if you watch back at the 2014 election, all the people were swaying in Hillary's, like she's gonna win, and as the night progressed, it was changing, and she wasn't winning. That was the only reason why I started voting, because when I saw Trump win, I was like, oh my God, your vote actually counts. No way. So all these pollsters that were saying that Trump was going to lose, they were trying to figure out, like, how the hell did this happen? Because based on their data, she should have won, not him. So they were like, I think that's why a lot of people use these other stuff. So let me show you guys what I'm talking about. And people feel like this is a little more accurate. This is Polymarket. In case you guys don't know what it is, this is where you can place your bets. So you have average American people placing their bets on who they assume is going to win. Yes, correct. Kamala, just like the way she did with the border guys, where she was like, don't come. She's like, I told him not to. Like, bro, who are you kidding? There is no power behind that. But for Polymarket, we are looking at, for the California governor's race, like I said, these are people, normal average Americans, that are betting on who they think is going to win because they want to win the big potluck kind of deal. So you got Becerra. It looks like at 36%. And then if we're looking at the Republican, Steve Hilton, which is the British dude, he's only at 6%, so they don't think he's going to win at all. And Bianco's only at 3%. So they're looking more at Tom Steyer or Becerra to win. But who knows? They may be wrong. But this is, I guess, their theory. This is also a good one to use when you're watching, because it shows you all the ups and downs and, what affects, your thought process in regards where they land, because they take into account people's, like, let's say if you're more for, like, let's say chickens and someone else is more for gas, like that's going to affect the way they look at stuff. So it's definitely something that these people like to use. So I've seen a lot of people when I would watch like Stephen Crowder, Tim Pool, when I would watch the other guy, the Black Conservative, all these people, they all talk about this website. And so far, it seemed pretty good. Like, I don't think anything is 100%, like, to be honest. Especially Trump proved that with him winning the election. Nothing is guaranteed, guys.
15 points or something, because hardly anyone has that amount of support to begin with.
Caroline, let's go back to you. What has surprised you about this race? That's obviously, yes, Eric Swalwell dropping out certainly surprised a lot of people. Is it the Becerra rise? Is it the inability of perhaps maybe Katie Porter, who served in Congress with Eric Swalwell, her sort of inability to get that bloc coalesced around her? Or has it been Tom Steyer trying to be a billionaire progressive in today's modern Democratic Party?
I will say, anytime you're a billionaire, it is going to be easier to take hits, just off the bat. So I think that just is a sort of liability, whether he likes that or not. But I will say that I think after Swalwell's exit from the race, I have been struck by the fact that you have seen some endorsements kind of being spread across the field. You had Rob Rivas, who's backed Katie Porter, the Assembly Speaker in California. You have, or I should say, Robert Garcia, I should say, who's backed Katie Porter. You've also had, for example, the California Teachers Association, which is backed Steyer. You had Rob Rivas, I should say, who backs Xavier Becerra. So you're seeing these folks who are kind of spreading around these endorsements. So the field doesn't seem consolidated. And also on the Swalwell point, I would just note, it is interesting that he didn't become more of a flashpoint in this debate. Xavier Becerra was asked about whether or not he should have done more when he was the House Democratic caucus chairman, when Swalwell was elected, and basically said that, our position is not to be, initiating these kind of investigations. That's for law enforcement. So I was kind of curious that Swalwell did not come up more in the debate, but certainly we'll see kind of how this race shakes out at this point.
Yeah, there was that moment where Javier Becerra was asked, hey, you were in dim leadership when these rumors started swirling, and he said, look, I'm as a former AG, I can't do anything based on laws or on rumors. I have to do things based on evidence. Then he pivoted and turned it over to Donald Trump, and saying that he is the type of person who would go after somebody based on rumors. I think if we're, as we watch debate, we think about what'll work well in an ad. If I'm either Chad Bianco or Steve Hilton, I'm turning directly to the moment where they asked each of the candidates to give a letter grade to Gavin Newsom. We got an A-, we got a B. I don't believe Javier Becerra gave a grade to Gavin Newsom. But it plays into what they have been saying. There's been so much Democratic rule in the state of California, and look where the state is right now. Maddie, do you think that that's perhaps an effective way to approach sort of trying to tell voters that, the change agents in this race are actually the Republicans, because we are not the Democrats who have been in charge seemingly forever?
Yeah, I think it could be an effective way because, we saw the Democrats in this case, I think, range from A to B, B-. In one case, I think Mahan said B on some initiatives, but D on implementation. He seemed to be the only Democrat willing to kind of really stand apart from Newsom's policies in that case. But not only the letter grade difference, but the responses from the candidates on that question about homelessness, I think was also especially revealing. Ahead of the debate, we talked a little bit about housing and some of the affordability issues. And I think Democrats really used this question to tie homelessness to some of the housing issues that California faces, and saying it's directly correlated. We need to fund homelessness prevention, have certain initiatives to get people indoors and off the streets. And so they really tied that affordability issue to homelessness, whereas the Republicans said it's not about homes. They said this is about mental illness. This is about drug abuse. We need to get people into treatment. And so naturally they gave Newsom an F on that. So I think we saw, the biggest difference from not
I
only
Newsom
the letter
should get
grade,
up
but
across the
also what
board.
they
Like,
see as the
look at
root
the
problem
wildfires.
here.
Like, that was
So
a major
voters who might
blow.
agree here will see light and day
I believe
between
COVID was another one.
how both parties' candidates would handle that issue.
Jeffrey, in terms of looking ahead, I'm not gonna ask if you expect to see anyone sort of go up or down, but just given what we've seen thus far, especially since Eric Swalwell dropped out, could we see some more volatility, or just given that nobody really seemed to have sort of that A+ night, we may just see polling sort of stay where it is, which would mean that it's going to be probably harder to get people to ultimately drop out here, especially on the Dem side.
Some of these people are going to look at these people and like, hell no.
Yeah, I think it's obviously difficult to say. I will say that for Tom Steyer, who is in first among the Democrats and currently polling in second overall in the Decision Desk HQ polling average, he has spent I don't actually what's the number we're at, like
hundreds of millions of dollars of his own money
to get to 15%, which is not really telling me that if he spends another 100 million, he's necessarily going to go flying up to like 30%. So there would seem to me that there is an opportunity for some of the other Democrats to make up more ground here. But at the same time, I think it's a big question about, does Becerra continue to rise? And does Mahan start to, as he becomes more familiar to people, start to latch on to something? Because he is differentiating himself from Newsom more than the other Democrats are. And that could play because there are Democrats who are critical of Newsom. Newsom is, of course, still pretty popular among Democrats in California, which is, I think, why you saw people tread somewhat carefully in terms of how they were grading him. A lot of them going to B- saying, I'm critical about this, but generally speaking, I felt like he's trying to do the right things as an approach, and I think that sort of speaks to the party aspect of this as Democrats.
Let's talk about what we didn't hear tonight. Didn't hear too much about healthcare, and you guys feel free to step in.
Yeah, I think they were probably trying to stay away from that topic.
Didn't hear a lot about,
but I'm thinking, like, if you voted blue for, like, let's say 100 years and it hasn't gotten better, why are you still voting that way?
We didn't hear a lot about education, other than
it's okay to try something new, and then if it doesn't work, go back to the way you used to vote. Like, look, Chicago. Chicago's a great example of that. Like, I hope they flip it red, because that'd be hilarious.
That's an interesting question. I mean, I guess I would still kind of go back to my remarks previously about Swalwell. I guess I was expecting that to be more of a focal point in this race. Also, maybe I should be surprised, maybe I shouldn't be, but President Biden and sort of the direction of the Democratic Party, I am kind of curious to see maybe why that may not have been brought up, just because California is sort of on the forefront of sort of these Democratic leaders. Gavin Newsom is obviously being considered for 2028. So I guess in terms of the direction of the party or 2028, I guess that might have been, a question or conversation that I might have expected to have come up. Though maybe they're dancing around that a little bit with the ratings around Newsom.
Maddie, what about you? Does anything surprise you that we didn't hear, either from a question standpoint or from the candidates themselves?
Yeah, and I think this may just be because I've covered it heavily with California's delegation in Congress, but wildfire recovery and needing to work with the current administration to get some funds to the state. We know that the current administration in California have a difficult relationship right now, if you could put it that way, but needing to, in some cases, work with the federal government and how that would work in a very blue state. If these candidates are making a point to say that they are going to really push back against the administration, how would they potentially work with the administration might be something that could have been heard more. I was also, like Caroline mentioned earlier, curious they didn't go deeper into the issue about Swalwell. I know Becerra was directly asked about that, but it seems like for how big of an effect that has had on this race, that might be something worth considering a little bit more. But yeah, there were, also affordability issues, housing I mentioned earlier, which they did kind of approach through the question about homelessness. But that was something else that I thought might get a little bit more attention.
Yeah, there's so much work right now, a bipartisan effort, we should say, on the Hill to build more housing, to change sort of restrictive zoning laws to increase the inventory. We didn't really hear too much about it, other than, as Maddie said, sort of the low income of providing housing for the homeless. Jeffrey, we've been talking a little bit about Gavin Newsom, certainly more popular than President Trump in California. But to Steve Hilton and Chad Bianco's point, they are telling voters, look at all the pain that you are in right now, and don't look at the White House. Look at who is in charge of the state where you live. Can you show us some data in terms of Gavin Newsom's favorability, either in California or nationwide? Because that was the other thing that we were looking for tonight, is were the Democrats going to not necessarily take aim at Gavin Newsom, but maybe judge him a little bit more, a little bit harsher than they did. I believe Matt Mahan said a lot about his time as, being the mayor of San Jose and really homing in on being mayor and executing there, and sort of saying what's happening in Sacramento, whatever the governor is doing, doesn't impact us. We're taking care of our own. Do we have any sort of data in terms of how favorable folks view Gavin Newsom this far into his tenure as governor?
Yeah, so we have, and apologies, I don't think we have this particular data point set up in our broadcast mode. So I've brought up the portal, our votes portal, directly, not in the broadcast mode. So if it's a little fuzzy, I apologize. But we have national data on Newsom, because obviously he's a potential 2028 candidate. A very, I would say potential is trying to be careful. Very likely 2028 contender. And presently nationally, he's not viewed particularly favorably. Some of that I suspect is that Republicans may have stronger negative feelings about him, and so it's a question of, are there some Democrats and Democratic-leaning independents who have heard about him but haven't necessarily made up their minds?
Let me say that
but
checking.
I think at the end of the day, what we've seen in a lot of recent elections is that you don't have to be terribly popular nationally to getting the nomination of your party. It's about who likes you within your party in terms of getting a nomination, and then the broader electorate having to make choices depending on who the parties nominate. In California, I don't have any data at immediate hand here, but look, Newsom's
of 3 teenagers. I will say that every kid is different. I definitely have a kid, I won't name him here, who's doing a good job with moderating social media, using it occasionally and in ways that have been helpful. I have another kid who's constantly told to put her device down, and when needed, I take it away. I do think we need to hold companies accountable when their products produce harm. If they're producing addiction, if they're failing to moderate inappropriate conduct, then we absolutely should hold them accountable. But those problems affect both kids particularly, but also adults.
And just to clarify, and forgive me if I missed it, but hold accountable or ban the usage for kids under 16?
I would not ban under 16. I might consider a different ban, but I also want to recognize that as a parent, it's an opportunity for families to make choices and have conversations about technology that these kids will see their whole lives.
Ms. Porter, thank you. Mr. Mahan, would you support a law that bans social media usage for kids under 16 years of age? You have 30 seconds.
What I would do is require parental consent for children under 16 to be able to use social media. I would also ban cell phone use during the academic day in public schools all the way through high school. I think it's destructive to give kids products
when my
that
kids
their
used to
brains
have
aren't fully developed and
their
able
devices
to use safely.
or
And so I would put those restrictions in place. I
for
think
like
parents
summer
should
and
have
spring,
ultimate
like
control,
vacation,
in
winter
this
vacation, we would
situation.
take all
I'm
their
raising-
devices
my
away
wife
from
and I are
them,
raising
and
2
it
little
was like
kids.
crack
They're 8
to
and
them,
6
guys.
years
Like
old. We
you would
limit
see
screen
them like
time.
Mr.
having
Mahan,
like
same
issue
clarification.
attacks
You say
and throwing
require
tantrums
parental
because they
consent.
want a device,
Are
and then
you
after like
yes
maybe
or
2 or
no
3 days,
on
they would
banning
chill
it
out and
under
they'll
the
go back
age
to
of
normal,
16?
and
The
then
reason I would
they'll start doing other things like reading
require
books, going
parental
outside,
consent
what
under
have you.
16
So I do
is
feel
that there
like,
are lots of
yeah,
educational
having like
tools that may have
devices like
social
that,
components
they
that
get
might connect
addicted to
students.
it,
There could
and
be
I think
applications
it's
that make
purposely
sense, but
made
parents
that
should
way.
have
That's
control
why.
over those decisions.
So I
Mr.
think that
Mahan, thank you. Mr.
we
Becerra,
should
would
put
you support a
restrictions
law that
or like
bans
some
social
parental
media
kind of
usage, for
lock
kids
on
under
it so
16?
that
30 seconds.
at certain age
Addiction
the
is
kids can get
dangerous.
a little more access
Yes,
to
I
it
would
little
absolutely
by
work
little,
with
you know?
legislators to make sure we can enact such a law. Kids have died as a result of their use of social media. Kids are going into this spiral downhill where they're not doing anything but playing with their phone. It is time for us to act. And I will tell you, as a former attorney general, I will enforce that law to make sure we are able to manage our children's development over the lifespan. And what I will tell you is this, we also have to help those families that are trying to manage their kids' use of these types of devices.
Mr. Becerra, thank you. Mr. Bianco, would you support a law that bans social media usage for kids under 16? You have 30 seconds.
No, that's up to their parents. I think it's interesting that drugs create mental illness too, and yet California Democrats have made drugs legal in California.
Yep.
But now we're going to ban social media because it creates a mental health issue for kids under 16. We know it creates mental health issues for adults.
Oh my gosh,
Social media is not a good thing for us to be spending 12 hours a day on, but it is up to parents what they want to do with their kids. It's not up to the government to tell them what their kids are going to do. And I agree, there are far too many educational benefits to these platforms than there are dangers, but it's up to parents.
All right, Mr. Bianco, thank you. Nikki?
Time's winding down, so as we like to say in TV, we're going to switch gears and ask a bit of a lighter question so people watching can get to know you on more of a personal level. Keep your answers a bit short here, but since we're on a streaming platform now, we want to know, what was the last streaming show that you watched? Mr. Steyer, we'll start with you.
I think the last streaming show I saw was probably Marshall's.
Marshall, streaming show of Marshall, okay.
Yep.
Miss Porter, last streaming show that you watched.
Hey, what
I
kind of
took a
question
lot
is
of heat
this?
from my kids for this, but I was watching Heated Rivalry.
Okay. Miss Porter, thank you. Mr. Mahan, last streaming show that you watched.
It's the one with Kerry Russell. I think it's called The Diplomat, or
Diplomat.
something. The Diplomat. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Mr. Mahan, thank you. Mr. Becerra, last streaming show that you watched.
I wish I could tell you that I have time to watch streaming shows. I can't tell you that I'm much of a TV watcher.
All right, Mr. Becerra, thank you. Mr. Bianco, last streaming show that you watched.
I don't stream and I don't watch TV.
Okay, Mr. Bianco, thank you. Mr. Hilton, last streaming show that you watched.
We're in the middle of it right now is Reacher. One of my sons really enjoys that, probably more than the rest of us in the family. But it's been good fun to watch together.
Mr. Hilton, thank you.
Thanks to all of you. Thanks to our candidates for being here this evening. And we want to say that, oh, I'm sorry, did we not
Yes.
ask someone?
Yes. No.
Okay, we're ready
Everybody
to go.
got their answer
I
in.
thought we missed someone. We want to make sure we know what you're streaming. That wraps up our debate for tonight. We want to invite you to stay tuned for the spin room that's happening right here in the studio.
So yeah, that seems like that's the end of this
I want to
segment.
remind everyone at home.
So
For the California primary election, they start.
So yeah, we're gonna leave it right there, guys. When we end up with like a one-on-one debate with these guys, like if it's a Republican against Democrat or a Republican against Republican or Democrat versus Democrat, I'm definitely gonna stream it for you guys. Again, I talk a lot, guys, and sometimes y'all need to tell me to like, calm down. If you want to hear what they're saying, more so instead of my commentary. But that's basically what this channel is just to be commentary on things that I think is important and that I feel like is something closer to my heart. Like, even though I don't live in California, I still have an opinion, But yeah, I guess we're gonna leave it there, guys. I want to thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, share, and I'll see you guys again. Same bat time, same bat channel. Have a good night.
Time's up, my little heathens. Harley's gotta cause more trouble. Thanks for the chaos.